Hello everybody and welcome to the end of Mystic Week. Well, not actually the end of Mystic Week. We have a video and this is the video and then it's the end of Mystic Week. But we like to end Mystic Week with the history of where we talk about this class from core set when we first got it all the way back in 2016, I think. And to where it is today. We're not going to talk about Drowned City cards because we haven't played with those cards yet. We actually also don't even have them at this point, yeah. We have the campaign coming, though. The campaign is shipped, so there's going to be on our channel soon. I think the best thing to do is just dive in and start by talking about the core set, which had...
Mystic Week's over in 2.5 hours, thereabouts.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. Might as well.
Not that much time.
Not a whole lot of time.
Agnes Baker was the mystic from the core set, and she had a very cool kind of like fantasy that she fulfilled for the Mystic class, which carried over from Arkham Horror 2nd Edition and Eldritch Horror. This one's actually really cool because in Arkham Horror 2nd Edition and Eldritch Horror, you kind of just got clues by just like playing the game, right? Like you go to the...
You showed up and things happen.
Yes, and then it's like you discover a clue and you're like, yes! Eldritch Horror expanded on that a little bit by having like research events, but it still was kind of just you push open a door and like 3 clues fall out. Spells, however, have been in Arkham for a long time. And a big part of spells in Arkham Files games, from 2nd Edition Eldritch Horror to the start of Arkham Horror, the card game, was that there was the idea that using Eldritch powers could be punishing. And Agnes Baker kind of just actually had that like perfectly on the front of her card, where it's just like when she's taking horror, she's dealing damage to people. Also in the sense that of her signature weakness, which was Dark Memory, which is like pretty tough for a signature weakness, you know? It's just like putting a doom or just like taking a bunch of horror. But it also showed a really cool thing, which was you could use your weakness to your advantage, which kind of then continued to paint that picture of the Mystic dabbling in dark arts where it hurt them. There was risk, but it had great reward as well.
Yeah, right. Like maybe you got to sacrifice an eye for a spell, and you didn't know that, but you do.
Yes, you do
It
now.
doesn't have to be your eye necessarily.
Just an eye.
Somebody's.
Yeah.
Or like, glimpses of eldritch power beyond our dimension is make you crazy.
Yep.
Yeah, the spells in Arkham 2nd Edition usually just had like a flat downside or like a downside if you failed the test. And then Eldritch Horror had multiple outcomes depending on
how well you did that.
Yeah, how many successes you rolled.
Yeah.
Ranging from like having an actual bonus if you roll enough to like just nothing happen, and then sometimes you have to discard the spell. Sometimes they would like kill you.
Yeah.
A lot of the time they would have like do something bad or discard this.
Yeah,
that was a fairly common one.
That was a pretty common one. Or like if you rolled any ones, then like tough.
Yes.
Man.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah, that's sort of what we were expecting coming into Arkham the card game. We got a little bit, but Agnes in particular was really exciting at the start because she got to do damage for free, and doing damage required you to pass tests, which was hard. So just getting to do damage was like nice.
Yeah. So this is actually an exchange that Travis and I had a while ago too, which I asked him, so why do you think like Mystics took so long to do anything except just be the combat, right? Because it felt like all the starting Mystics were combat, and when you look at this, when we get into this, it's Agnes's ability, but also the card pool that comes with it as well. We just have Shriveling, which we're going to get to. But because of this, Agnes was actually a pretty good fighter, and then she also had the survivor thing to lean on as well, which was really nice for her.
Yeah, I mean, like in the beginning, there weren't really easy to access spells that did other things, right? Like they cost you XP, and they weren't even that great at it.
Yep.
They were just okay.
Yep. Also in the box, Daisy Walker. She was Mystic 02, and she was able to utilize honestly a good chunk of cards here, right? Like she had the
She liked the purple cards that weren't explicitly spells.
Yeah, like Ward of Protection was a nice thing to just have in her kit. Fearless to even heal horror when you just needed 30 cards. Like, it wasn't a bad thing because it also protected you in the Mythos phase. So
Drawn to the Flame was fine. Holy Rosary was decent. Soak. But yeah, things like Shriveling you didn't really interact with because you only had 3 brain, and that was usually not quite worth it.
Yeah.
When you could be using your 5 book to get clues.
Yes, yeah. Very well, too.
Yeah, or the 5 book to, like, hook up a doorknob to an electrical outlet or whatever. That wasn't this cycle. That was
it turns out that was Dunwich, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of Dunwich cards that I'm like, this isn't core?
Yeah.
That's wrong.
And then Daisy being the Seeker as well really kind of solidified the flavor of tomes being secondary in Mystic, which makes sense. They're primarily like full of just knowledge, which is the Seeker aspect of them, but there are some that have
Eldritch knowledge.
Eldritch knowledge and actual magical properties, which is where the Mystic side of things come in.
That's true. Yeah. So the first batch of cards we're going to talk about here, let's take a big moment and talk about Shriveling. This was the only what we now consider to be traditional spell asset that was in the core set. When we say like traditional spell asset, we mean an asset that you put into play that either fights, investigates, or evades. That's kind of just a trend that you're going to see throughout this entire video. And turns out these are pretty important to the Mystic class, and not me making these slides 2 days ago being like, what do you mean Shriveling 3 wasn't in the core set? It was just Shriveling 0, which is crazy. And like looking back at
actually do anything.
Yes, it is like the core set Mystic experience wasn't great. With that said, though, there were still a lot of really powerful cards that we're seeing here, and then also partly on the next slide, but also partly just glue. And then Agnes's ability was also just very good, meant that they didn't feel the same kind of like pain that rogues felt, but they still felt a little bit of pain, at least when it came to scaling up throughout the intro campaign.
At least when Mystics got to do things because of Agnes's 5 brain, they got to do it well.
Yes, yeah.
There's inconsistency there, but when you're doing it, you were like, yeah, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Shriveling is just... Shriveling 0 is just the 45.
Yep.
For one less money, but sometimes it explodes on you.
Yes, 100%.
And that's...
And what was really nice is that, again, the downside of Shriveling, Agnes can turn into an upside. But other investigators, Mystic investigators, don't have the same thing, so it kind of carves out her little niche specifically for Shriveling.
Yeah, I mean, I think they should have continued with Mystic effects dealing horror to you sometimes. Because we did definitely continue with Mystic's ability to tank blue damage forever.
Yes,
but there's not as much reason for it.
Yes,
now
100%.
As there was.
Yeah. No. So actually, let's skip over Drawn to the Flame and let's go to Warder Protection, because that's another example of the cards here that in the core set just kind of, this was like, you could see like the design philosophy behind it, which is just like, you're doing magic that should deal you horror, which also comes from like Call of Cthulhu, the RPG, which is that, you know, doing this magic has a state, like an effect on your mind, which, again, kind of dissipates as we go further in, but this was like the piece forward, and also really great with Agnes to also ping an enemy while doing that as well.
It continued to be great. I mean, it continues to be great.
Yes, it is still
a really good card.
Still a very good card.
One of the cards we played the most as well. I think I'm pretty sure my Warder Protections have like a little ripple in the top from shuffling them so much.
Sign that they're well loved.
Yeah. We played them all a lot.
In the middle there, which I skipped over, was Drawn to the Flame. This was kind of showing the risk reward that also fit with this philosophy of spellcasting and like mysticism, where you're able to. I mean, Drawn to the Flame is like a perfect card, perfect name. Like it's like literally just like one of the cards that if I have to point at being like this is a perfect from in all aspects. It's Drawn to the Flame, and it's such a great example of what mystics are, and it's also another card that is still really good today too.
Yeah, so I think these 3 cards, well, the reason I grouped them together initially was they give a really good picture of the Mystic, what the Mystic class was intended to be, I think, where we have combat, we can get clues, we can do a little bit of the things that need to be done, we can interact with the encounter deck as well, but only occasionally. You have to have the Shriveling, you have to have the Drawn to the Flame, you have to have the Warder Protection. You can only use the Drawn to the Flame and the Warder Protection once, right? You can... and they also all have downsides as well. Like you have this enormous power that is stronger in bursts than what other classes get to do, but it hurts you or might hurt you.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, it is something that I hope we come back to.
Agreed. These next cards. Oh no, we skipped a. Is that slide? Did I miss a slide? I did miss a slide.
No,
and it's an important slide,
Disaster, Justin.
Oh no. Well, unfortunately, Holy Rosary, Arcane Initiate, Guts, and Emergency Cache didn't make it. So they've been deleted from the collection. So if you could just take them out of your binder and rip them up, that would be huge. Thank you. No, we can still talk about them. They just won't appear on the screen. But we know what they all do. They're very easy cards to sum up.
They are.
Holy Rosary is a 2-cost accessory slot item that you get +1 Brain, and it soaks for 2 Horror. This was really important to the Mystics because Shriveling didn't give you a Brain boost when you attacked.
No.
So having that to just make your Shriveling better was really good. This carries over into all of these starting assets that we see for spells. Just like more Brain was just really nice.
Yeah, because it's a stat used for everything.
Yep.
Yep.
Arcane Initiate is 0-cost ally? 1 cost. The upgrade is 1 to 0, yeah. 1 cost ally that soaks for 2 Horror?
1 and 2.
1 and 2, yeah. I guess I don't consider it.
It comes into play with a Doom on it,
Yeah.
and then you, as a Lightning Bolt, you can exhaust, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, add a spell from among them into your hand, and then shuffle the rest away.
Yeah. That was really good because Mystics still aren't great. They're getting better at card draw, but this was a really good form of card draw in the early game, and it still carries to be in the current state of the game.
Only card draw they got for a long time.
For a very long time,
Yeah.
And it was very important when you needed to have a Shriveling or a Water Protection or something to play the game.
Yes, yeah. One thing that I actually really appreciate about Mystic cards, I find that this is the class that kind of teaches the tricks of the game best to players. The idea of I'm going to wait before agenda advances to play my Arcane Initiate, I think is a very important learning moment that a lot of players can discover. Or alternatively, the idea of I'm playing you and I'm going to get rid of you before the time comes. Right?
Yeah.
I think these are very cool lessons that the Mystic class teaches. We also have 2 neutral cards, Guts and Emergency Cache. Emergency Cache is a 0-cost, gives you 3 resources. It's an event.
Purple cards are expensive.
Yes, it pays for your Shriveling.
They need money.
Yes, yeah. And then Guts is good. It's a skill that commits for 2 Brain. When you use your Brain for everything, you're going to be very impactful for your starting decks when you're just starting out. And also still good now. Guts is still good. Mm-hmm. We say it 5 to 6 times a year. Yeah.
No,
That
that's
never
still
changed.
good cards.
I think it might be more than 5 to 6 times a year, but
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Now we get on to the next slide here with Forbidden Knowledge, Fearless, and Book of Shadows. Forbidden Knowledge was a cool thing because it gave resources. As we were talking about, Mystics want resources. But with Agnes, it also was a cool card to see in her kit because it's I can use this to gain money and also ping enemies for 1 damage, triggering my ability. Fearless allows you to heal horror, which is good because, as Bryn said on the last slide, a lot of things deal you horror.
They did in the early days.
Maybe even just Forbidden Knowledge right there, right? One of those things.
Yeah, especially good for Agnes because it's an extra point of damage, just like a Weirdsmobile Vicious Blow.
Yes, yeah. And then Book of Shadows was a way for you to use your hand slots for something, and then also give more longevity to your spell assets. At this point, Shriveling.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then we got some more of our upgraded cards with the form of Grotesque
rest of the
Statue.
upgraded cards.
Yeah, I guess that's all of them. Yeah.
Hey, they all made it into the slide, so they're not that bad.
No. I want to talk about Blinding Light in a few, but let's talk about Grotesque Statue first.
Good card.
Great card, and just the ability to have more success over your tests was very nice when you were just starting out, especially again when you look at this and you realized you're going into Devour Below with a level 0 Shriveling and just being I'm going for it. But luckily I have my Grotesque Statue kind of helping me not be a level 0 Shriveling.
Yeah, I think we really undervalued Grotesque Statue in our early days, mostly because none of us really played Mystics all that much.
Because they weren't good.
Yeah, we didn't like the inconsistency, and it felt very limited what you can do when you could alternatively be I'm rolling that on the shitty.
Yes.
If I wanted to play bad cards, I would play with Switchblade.
Yeah.
You play Rogue like you did.
Yeah, which is actually what I did do, yes.
Speaking of cards that we actually, I think, undervalued when we were first starting out, Blinding Light.
Yes.
It's just a 1 cost. It reads like an evade spell, but this is actually a damage spell.
Secretly, yeah.
And we never really, again, because we never played it, so we never explored the cards, right? but I think we were very much in like evade is bad, and then like we saw evade and we were like, this is bad, and just like
bad, yeah.
stopped reading. But this is I've actually been playing this card more recently than I've like ever played it because it's just 2 damage. It evades an enemy as well. It's kind of like a sweeping kick, a card I
Yeah, a little
said
bit.
was like, wow.
Yeah.
And turns out it's been there the whole time.
Yeah, I've played this in a Norman Withers deck because it's one of like the 12 cards he can upgrade into. It's kind of weird.
How
Yeah.
was it?
They would allow. It was like not bad. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and it also
It's
has
like,
a,
okay.
it does also have like a pretty noticeable downside too that seems scary, but you're really getting like 2 actions out of this. So if you lose an action, it's basically just like, well, you know,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
also
yeah.
Agnes. It also deals a horse, so it deals 3 damage if you. Actually, was pretty good, man. We really missed that one.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this one does just like gorp a big cultist
Yeah. Yeah. It does. Yeah.
against his bad number.
Yes. Yeah. And evade. Yeah.
So-
Yeah. Mind wipe.
We thought this card was useless, and then we were really hyped about it for a while, and then we're back to it being like so-so.
Yeah. It's a silver bullet. It's a
Yeah,
tech
like-
card, but.
When it's good, you'll know. But
Yeah, but even then, like a lot of the time, you can get by without
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah, a big part of the issue with this one is that it blanks victory on guys.
Yes.
So most guys who have a big text box that does something sweet,
yeah,
you also just want to kill for the points.
yes, yeah, yeah,
Like you might be able to blank somebody's box and like rough them up a bit and then have somebody else kill them, but
Yep.
yeah.
There's an option, but yeah.
yeah.
All right. We always in these histories we also talk about like in the how they went through the campaign, and I'm gonna be real with all of you. The Mystic ones are going to sound very similar. It's just like they have good brain, which means they are good against the majority of the encounter cards until we get to more modern Arkham, which notably, while still testing brain, does test your kind of like your whole skew of things. Or the opposite, where it's like there's not much brain test in this one, so they're going to feel it.
Yeah.
In this one, I put Rotting Remains and Crypt Chill here, 2 noticeable like big brain tests, along with Frozen in Fear, which Mystics just laugh at when it shows up, while the Rogues are like, please help me. And then also Ancient Evils, because this is where you learn that Ward of Protection and Ancient Evils is a hell of a
Yeah,
drug.
it's the reason that Travis's Ward of Protection 2s are so shuffled.
Yes, yeah,
It's,
Love that one.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, early in the game, you really showed you that Mystic didn't need to be afraid of the encounter deck. Like, looking at these cards here, Rotting Remains dealt horror to you, which you were already prepared to take a bunch of, and you could do damage with Agnes. And then Crypt Chill, you had to throw away an asset. You had all kinds of... You were very likely to have things that you either didn't mind getting rid of because they were empty, like empty shriveling, or things you actively wanted to get rid of, like Arcane Initiate.
Yep.
And so that's already like... Though 2 cards, or 5 cards, I guess, there's in the encounter deck. It's 3 and 2 for those encounter sets, right?
No, 7 for Rotting Remains.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, a good chunk of them, like the scary card from it.
Yeah, you just don't have to care about them.
oh yeah.
Yeah. And then it's a very nice thing to just like. That's why Jacqueline Fine as well is such a good thing to bring for new players, because it's kind of like the Mystic Way. You're just safe for Mythos, safer anyway. All right, and then we go.
Maybe that's why I don't play Mystic so much. I'm like, give me the one brain.
Yes, yeah. I want to feel. I want to feel fear. Oh, discordant chords, frick! Then we got Dunwich Legacy, and Jim Culver came here, and he bit into me like a bug, and I'm still infected with his wily, nibbling ways. Jim
You can't
was
you
not.
can't trust those jazz musicians.
He was not okay. He was impactful on the game because he was a new Mystic Investigator, and then that's where it stopped.
Yep.
Where it was just like someone different than Agnes. But we're going to talk about, because this is the history of, we're going to talk about like what he represented at a time for the Mystic class design. And the idea is, cares about symbol tokens.
Getting to play with non-red cards as your backup.
Yeah. And also, I lost the train of...
Sorry, I derailed.
No, it's all
My
good.
bad.
Oh, also, though, the stat line kind of shows that you do want to be, like, a little bit flexible, right? And we started to get the pieces for that in Dunwich that made that more of a thing. So that's kind of like what Jim represented in the design of this.
Yeah, I mean, the trumpet was also huge when Dunwich came out, because there was really not efficient healing
Yes.
available at that time.
Yes.
And Jim's trumpet is actually kind of good at
Yes,
that.
it is good healing. It is good horror healing, yeah.
It's just, like, comes
in
attached
like
to this guy. So.
It's a flaming paper bag.
Yeah, right. Could be anything in there.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's just shit again.
Yeah, like it's easy. I think it's easier to see the design of Jim looking back, where the skulls in the early campaigns, there was usually 3 of them, so they were the most populous token in the bag. And you had the 3s in your book and your fists, so they're like, you're going to be using your brain for the important tests, but then you can use your fists in your book for getting clues and fighting, just like random stuff.
Because you got more zeros in the bag.
You got more
so
zeros in
you
the
only
bag.
really need to be like evened up. You don't actually need to be ahead too far.
Yeah, and that didn't work out, but...
Well, yeah, and that's like, you actually, if you compare, like, the stat line and the philosophy of Jim Culver and Roland Banks, you see this. Like, this was, like, the intention of Arkham, and then something just shifted, and it was probably already kind of there because of, like, Daisy and then Mark, where it's like, oh, I really want to...
And
Yeah,
Agnes.
I mean, it is also just more fun to build your deck to be good at a thing
Yes.
than it is to build your deck to be, like, kind of okay at a lot of things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I get it. Just, it means a lot of these older guys don't quite cut it anymore.
Yeah, it puts a lot more focus on the deck building aspect of the game than it does like on the actual playing though. I think that trying to scramble through the scenarios and like not knowing what you're coming up against and having a myriad challenges to overcome is a more enjoyable play experience than showing up and your job is I kill the monsters every turn or I investigate 3 times every turn. That's the thing that I do. I think it leads to a much more replayable game if that's not the case.
I agree. Book v Shroud every turn is not the most exciting gameplay loop.
That's fair. I know you don't like that,
It's, it's just like a thing. And similarly, Brain v Shroud, it's just like a gameplay loop. At least there's a little more excitement there. Cause
because you're like, I missed it, I wasted my... Oh, no.
Yeah.
In Dunwich, we got the remainder of the Shriveling cycle, and then we also got Rite of Seeking here as well. So we had a way for Mystics to get clues, and also a way for you to upgrade your Shriveling and start getting, like, scaling with the game. Which I understand why they didn't include it in the core set, because it was only a 3-scenario thing.
Yeah, you didn't really need it.
Yeah, because it's like you're not designed to fight the final boss of that one. But when you're now in an 8-part scenario, we're going to need to scale up with the game. That's just like good design philosophy, right? If the game's getting stronger, we need to get stronger to keep up. And that's where the nice thing for Shriveling 3 and 5 here. Notably, they give you a brain boost for both of them, and more damage for the level 5 version, but also more horror.
To you.
Yep.
And then Rite of Seeking was important because it was clues. So now you did not need to just deal damage, but what was kind of interesting to see, because the card pool was still tiny, Mystics then became flex. They kind of just like filled that role naturally, because you're like, I have my Arcane Initiate, my two Shrivelings, my 2 Rite of Seekings, and then like my Holy Rosary, and then my Ward of Protection, my Guts, and then like it all just kind of like came from there. They were very like build by number kind of decks.
Yeah, we kind of shied away from Rite of Seeking when it first came out for a little while.
It says it ends your turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was scary until we figured out you just did it on your last action. And then it was also partially we just kind of had it in our heads, I think, for the most part. We were like, Mystics aren't great. I don't really want... Or we were more excited to play other characters. Zoe was a lot cooler.
Rex
was a lot cooler. Ashcan Pete was a lot cooler.
Yeah.
Bryn, you played Jenny Barnes quite a bit when she came out.
The most fun I've had playing this game was like Patrick being like, you can kill this, right? And me being like, no, I don't have that gun. It's the only thing I have that I can fight with.
That's fun. Our Dunwich blind run, you were Rex, I was Ashcan, and Bryn was Jenny. Yeah. So we just kind of stayed away from Jim, and it makes sense. My first Jim playthrough, I actually did a solo Jim, and I don't even remember how it went, but obviously probably not great.
Not as bad as the Wendy one.
No. I do not enjoy solo. I think I quit those ones for different reasons. One was I wasn't doing it full time, and the other one was because it made me angry. So,
yeah, both good reasons to stop doing it.
Yeah. We also got here 2 notable cards in the form of Delve Too Deep and Ritual Candles. Delve Too Deep was a very exciting card when it got spoiled, because in Dunwich, victory was low.
Yeah, you get like 3, maybe 4 in a scenario if
Yes.
you're doing good.
Yeah. And having the ability to like get victory for the team was a very exciting thing. And it was kind of just like exciting to have someone just like play the card at the table. Unfortunately, we then learned to wait until the end and then play them, and it kind of sucked some of the fun out of the card.
Yeah,
but
it's just really good.
Yeah. And then it is just like no downside. It's like, why don't you guys resign first so we even have less encounter cards to deal with? Yeah. But the design here I think was really cool to show once again that risk reward that the Mystic Fantasy had. We also had Ritual Candles, which is one of those cards that we were like, this card's incredible, to this card's bad, and then wait a minute, this card's actually really good. It is just a very like it was then and it is now just a very easy investment to get value over time.
One resource in your hand slots.
Yeah.
Like, who's going to use those? You're playing purple.
Yeah.
Yeah, you weren't using those unless you upgraded into Grotesque Statue and Book of Shadows initially. So.
Yeah, and even then, at this point now, you were basically just spending it all on your Shriveling and your Rite of Seekins.
Or Jim's Trumpet.
Yeah, and I think
you could have that as well.
A big piece of the reason for our change in the perspective on Ritual Candles is we were like, this is really hard to use because you have no control over when it's going to happen. And then it was like, this is not a +1 to my skill value. This is a -1 to all of the values on the tokens.
Yeah, 100%.
Which is admittedly kind of the same thing, but
it feels different.
One of them feels good, and the other one's like, I can't make this happen when I want it to.
Yeah. Well, it is. It's like the difference between like losing value versus mitigating risk, right? Because if you just change the perspective, you don't care that you're like mitigating risk just happens,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah. All right. Also in here, we had some Doom cards, which again showed the risk reward that Mystics wanted to explore. We had Alyssa Graham, where she gave you +1 book, which was actually pretty cool and very nice for Jim. Yeah, like put him at a good number.
Yeah, you could play this in your librarian deck because +1 book, and you don't really need Dr. Milan. Anyway. He's not that good.
No, he's not.
This card actually does something.
Yeah.
But having like again that Mythos control was really nice. And the idea was that using Doom to move it to the top or bottom, again a good learning experience. Blood Pact was the Mystic permanent, and it was a cool card. I remember when I saw that card, I was like, I want to do something with Jim with this one, because just having like +3 brain on command, and then like I can Moonlight Ritual or use it before the Doom advances was really cool. And unfortunately, it wasn't really in a place they were able to do that consistently, mostly just because, yes, it's a spell. You could find Moonlight Ritual, which removes Doom from all cards. There was still just a little...
Removes Doom from 1 card.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, 1 card was pretty close to all cards at this time.
Yeah. It was one of those things where just like it was hard to like get the pieces to just do it confidently. Yeah. But cool to see kind of this archetype begin to be poked at here, and then ignored for a long time, and then poked at again occasionally, and then given support, and then But Doom is on an interesting adventure here. But we saw it started all the way back in Dunwich. We then got some nice upgraded cards in the form of Jewel of Aureolus, which we notably didn't play that much when it first came out, and the reasons for that are pretty simple if you've been following this. 1, Holy Rosary was level 0 and super cheap, and this was 3 experience and required, not upgrading your Shrivelings or your Rite of Seekings, which was kind of the thing. Yeah, didn't give you a brain. Yeah. But the card is very good. It's been tabooed, which made it, I think, like much better than it is now. Just changing the word to symbol is huge. But I think even in a small collection, this is kind of like not in Dunwich, but it was so small. But even like in the days of like Carcosa and Forgotten Age, when experience became a bit easier, I feel like this one probably should have been explored a bit more. Ward of Protection 5 now also just can stop and any card, so you can get rid of an enemy when you draw it, and that's a very nice power fantasy.
It does also now cancel all of the card's effects and not just its revelation
Yes,
effects.
very notable.
So it'll like it'll eat Surge, it'll eat like anything, right?
Yeah, just a hard note of the game.
Yeah. And then we had an upgraded Fearless, which is now...
we didn't touch, really, I don't think, but it was like, it's a nice upgrade.
Yeah. But it's fun looking back and being like, Deduction and Vicious Blow, we all see that one. This one just heals more horror, just the scaling of those was really fun to look back and see.
Green didn't get one.
Well, they did. Opportunist was that one from that one.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, they got survivored in the first cycle for that one, in here, these are some notable neutral cards. Relic Hunter. You might think that would allow you to also run Jewel of Aureolus. No. 2 Holy Rosaries. And like, you think we're joking, but no, that is like the gameplay loop that happened there. Like, perfect. Like, the designer's like, perfect. They can buy this to have Jewel of Aureolus and then also Holy Rosary in play. No, all of them just like, they're wearing they're wearing 2 crosses. Fuck!
It's like when you show up and you got 2 coffees and your friend's like, 2 coffees? And you're just like, nah, both for me though.
Also notably, Relic Hunter wasn't really used by anyone except Mystics when we were first playing, because I remember...
There was a lot less, though.
Yeah.
Like, nobody used that slot for anything except Mystic.
Yep. And I remember in videos, we were like, this card's going to be very good one day. We were all like, this card's going to, like, be... we even, like, said... Because in Dunwich... It was like, and like Dunwich, Carcosa, Forgotten Age, even Circle, it was like you always bought Charisma, right? Because allies were very good.
They were very
And at this point now, Relic Hunter is more common than Charisma, I find. Just like generally, because again, I think that switch has kind of just happened at this point with the full card pool.
It tends to cost less money to fill 2 relic slots as
Yes,
well.
yeah.
So that
When
means
it's like
you need
2 to
bend less of your deck out of shape to accommodate this.
Yeah. As opposed to like when it just started, it was just
They
like,
cost
I
4.
want to bend out of my shape because like they're the best thing I can play.
I want two B cops.
Yes.
This guy's nuts.
We also had some of the a neat neutral healing in the form of painkillers and smoking pipe. But what this card also did was give Agnes some more horror on demand, which was really nice for her.
Yep, it was basically having both of these was like free damage.
Yep.
3 times.
Yep.
It's good.
Yeah.
And then
I think it is like a very solid way for healing to exist in this game.
yes, it's great neutral healing too, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like it's good, but it's not that good.
Yep. And then it also has like a lot of quiet synergies too. I think they're very well designed. And as we always do, we like to end not with the campaign, but with like Travis likes to call them, the steak slides.
These ones are bad.
Song of the Dead is bad.
No, you can tell it's designed for Jim.
It is designed for Jim, and you could just see, looking at Song of the Dead, they didn't really have like their the level of power that spell assets should have figured out.
Yeah, can you prove that this card is bad? Can't you just see how bad it is?
So like there's that issue with that, and also because like there weren't any ways to guarantee skulls in this. Like Song of the Dead struggled when I had a full deck that was all about pulling tokens, right? And like token manipulation.
Yeah.
Imagine
so
that
worse
card, when you didn't have any of that.
Yeah.
Hypnotic Gaze, it's a dodge that's really expensive, and if you draw one of the symbols, it deals damage. The enemy deals damage to itself. Just a very expensive dodge, which wasn't really like your decks were already so resource hungry, it was hard to put in. And then Defiance, which notably there were periods where we all played this card, but like looking back, this doesn't actually like really do anything.
Yeah, one thing these all suffer from is they all rely on you to draw a specific token out of the bag.
Yes.
Or they don't really do anything.
Yeah.
Or they're like just not worth it at all, and there was not really any support to do that apart from Grotesque Statue 4, but like you shouldn't buy Grotesque Statue 4 to enable these.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, so that's the beauty of Grotesque Statue 4, though. I can buy that to enable my Defiance, or I can just not have the Defiance in my deck.
Yes.
And I will still pass the test.
Yep.
Yeah, Defiance was good for some of those earlier campaigns because there were definitely some of them that were like, hey, are you late into the module? Like, great, the skull is -5.
Yeah.
Or like the squid is like -4, and then also get hurt worse.
And that was kind of the use case we had for
So-
it, which was just like stop those. But
Sometimes.
imagine if you would looked at. I'm curious if I could go back in time and just analyze things without actually having to spend time looking at it. How many times it actually triggered for us to be relevant?
Yeah,
when
I
we just started.
I think a part of it was also just that we had such a shallow card pool,
Yep.
and we only had 4 copies of
Guts.
not guts.
Unexpected.
Unexpected
courage.
courage. Yeah, so the Mystic would play these.
Yeah. Yeah. For the Dunwich campaign, you can see here more brain tests, more of them. Like Dunwich tested a lot of brain. I also included Beyond the Veil here because when we just started out, Mystic was the only one that actually had a solution to this in the form of Ward of Protection. And then everyone else was just like, I guess this is my life.
I'll just stop trying to draw cards, I guess.
Yeah. So like Mystics were able to be proactive against it,
Yeah.
against only themselves until Carcosa. But we have to talk about some other things before we get to Carcosa. First, here with the Investigator with Akachi Onule. So she was just more Mystic, which was just that all of your charge-based assets entered play with 1 additional charge on them. She had 5 brain still. And it was just like more of that good stuff that you wanted to be doing anyway.
Approximately 25% more spell per spell.
Yep.
Yeah, she's like very solid, pretty good. The big thing that she suffered from is she just wasn't as cool as the other characters in the box. Justin was really excited to play Minty Fan. Sophia Rousseau is an event-based investigator.
She was the first
something
one who
we
didn't
have.
suck.
Yeah. Yorick had like this fancy recursion game plan, and then the other competition is Mark, so like sucks to suck Akachi.
Yeah. Hey, Lola was there too.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Is Lola does she get a slot? Is she in the room with us now?
She is, yes.
Lola was
she has
more
a
exciting.
sniper rifle. You see a red dot. Yeah. I think another thing that actually was hurting Mystics, and a reason why Akachi was less exciting, was that this was just another Mystic that was essentially just 0-5 Mystic. Like, Agnes was interesting because she had a notable splash, but Jim and Akachi, unfortunately, didn't really have something to make them, like, more than just yet another Mystic playing the same assets that we've been playing for the last, like, well, 1 campaign. But still, yeah.
Yeah, for the most part, I think we looked at them just as Agnes, but with a worse card pool and worse abilities, so why would we play them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Akachi's ability is like...
It's pretty
it's a bit of
solid,
a
but
push.
back then we
against Agnes, it's like... And you do get a unique asset.
Her
that's worth
signature,
playing,
her signature
right?
was insane
like
for a small
actually good.
collection.
Yep.
If you were
So-
able to like find it, like you
Yeah.
basically solved the Mystic problem just with that one asset. Yeah, and then also like a pretty fun signature weakness too, which kind of like works with her ability, her signature in a lot of cool ways. I think her design was very open and basic, and like unfortunately a little bit dull compared to the
little bland,
others.
yeah.
Yeah. In here, we also had Safina, who was able to play the Mystic
0-2.
0-2. And like how Daisy kind of established that tomes were both Seeker and Mystic as the main focus, what I really like what Safina did is she says, so the cross between Rogue and Mystic is event-based things, which I think was a really cool kind of like thing that is carried over to a lot of good Mystic events that actually kind of also mirror some Rogue designs going into today, which I think is really, really neat.
Yeah, like a pile of the stuff that adds numbers together.
Yes, and then also now that some return to your
cool.
hand based on
Yeah.
a trigger, I think
Yeah.
that's all some really cool kind of like thing that we can thank Safina for. Notably, as well with Safina, I'm pretty sure she was the first unique Arkham horror
Deck
from this
building?
one. From from
character.
character.
She also
yeah.
was like the first one with
Just a fucked up thing. Yeah.
like
The 33.
we're just messed up.
Yeah.
We aren't doing
Definitely, yeah.
we
Yes.
aren't doing
Yeah.
just like put 30 cards in a pile, shuffle your
Yeah,
weaknesses.
you get to do
in
something
there and
like
go.
you got to do something
Like,
different.
no, you have to
Yeah.
play the game differently. You have to set up the game differently.
Yeah. But yeah, she was new, just completely new. It was a new character, which because normally they came from one of the other games, but I'm pretty sure that she was new to this one.
Yeah, we might be. We're probably out of those now. Hey?
We are.
That's crazy.
We are. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's go on to 4 cards that impacted our card pool and gameplay pretty a lot. Like just a lot. Yeah.
Ones.
David Renfield was a huge solution to the Mystic economy problem for resource generation. It was just absolutely crazy what he was able to do, while also giving you +1 brain in the process.
Yep.
For the low price of 2 money and like sometimes accidentally spilling an agenda over it.
Yeah.
No, I never had to do that.
And even then, like, we have a lot of solutions for it, because, like, you would swap
easy.
between him to Arcane Initiate. I know when we were first playing, too, when we had less options, we would even just run Moonlight Ritual as just a way to extend David Renfield and start again.
He dies to Ward of Protection.
Yep. He dies to Ward of Protection. He dies to Forbidden Knowledge with Agnes. He dies to the Smoking Pipe, or whatever the one that deals horror is.
Dies to attacks of opportunity.
Yes, like, he just is like, so I've never made this video. It's still on my list, but I had a video which was like 100 ways to kill David Renfield. Then he got tabooed, and I stopped working on it. But then he got untabooed, and I did not start working on it. But it's one of those things that, like, this was kind of like the thing for David, was that he showed up, gave you some resources, and then suddenly just died. Yeah. Uncage the Soul also did a really good job of helping the economy problem in Mystic by just giving them another emergency cache. Right?
Yeah, or a guts if you no longer need that.
Exactly, and then, like, it was super playable because of that. It was just like another just staple. Speaking of staple, Ward of Protection 2, as Travis said, the one that's well-loved and shuffled, you can now use it on other people, which meant that we played in 3 players. Unfortunately, Ward of Protection 5 just lived in the binder, because Ward of Protection 2 was just, like, better for 3-player gameplay, because you could stop anybody's Ancient Evils.
Yep. And nothing else.
Yes.
Never anything else.
Unless it was going to kill somebody and they had a pile of clues, or we needed...
Sometimes
it's gonna, like, lose you the game.
Yeah.
And then we also had Seal of the Elder Sign, which is, I think, the big... I mean, I guess you could argue Ward of Protection 5 was the first, but I feel like this was, like, the first, like, top-end Mystic card. You were like, this is really cool.
It was really flashy.
Yes, yeah.
Like, War of Protection was something you already had, but just more of it, whereas this one was something entirely new and very powerful.
Yes.
Being able to force an Elder Sign was really cool.
Now, you
and
might
really
think
strong.
that single-handedly fixed Jim, and if by fixed you mean removed his testicles, then yes. We're still there.
Yes. Seal the Other Sign doesn't get played as much today, but when you had a small collection, this was a really good thing to build towards. Yeah.
It's a cool card. It just solves whatever problem you've got right now.
Yep. And then you realize, wait a minute, Promise of Power does the same thing.
Could have done a lot of things.
Mystic actually got some big improvements in this one. We had
I think Mystic ended up with the best card pool out of Carcosa, honestly. The other classes really suffered or struggled a little bit with the non-invest here part of the card pool, but Mystic got some huge glow-ups here.
Yeah. St. Hubert's Key gave you another option. Well, I think it wasn't like... It was one of those things where there wasn't like a great user for this besides Daisy. Probably played it from the core set the most. It was a good groundwork to further show that we were never going to get a 4-fist Mystic, and we're just going to keep getting 4-book Mystics until the end of time. But it's going to be one of those things that...
So we get the one who shoots magic guns.
I want that guy. But yeah, so it was a great card here. Spirit of Thame. Well, we didn't really play it like too much. It still was like a fine hand slot item for a smaller collection. And then Storm of Spirits was a very relevant card. It was like kind of Mystic Dynamite in like the like how we played it. And it is kind of Mystic Dynamite, so we played it correctly. Good job, guys.
It was also like the first Mystic fight event that we actually got.
Yep.
You could argue Blind Light is, but it doesn't say
No,
fight
it said
on
evade, so it was bad.
It's not a fight event, so you can get that out of here.
They also got Astral Travel and Quantum Flux as some more kind of flashy cards here. Notably, Astral Travel, it's a good cross-map movement. We also have, what's the rogue card?
I'm out of here.
No,
it's elusive.
Elusive, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Elusive.
Elusive was also available at this point, but we didn't know how good that card was.
Not really.
But Astral Travel, like cross-map movement, is really nice. Notably, we've seen this happen a few times where this card was a good way to travel across the map and also conveniently kill David Renfield, who was
Yeah.
going to cause the thing to advance.
Horrible mistake.
Yeah, I left him on Tindalos, you know.
Yeah, I thought he was right behind me.
And then we had Quantum Flux as, again, a flashy card, where effects like this,
It's almost like not so much flashy as it is one of the first examples of mystics having weird effects
Yes,
that don't
yes.
really do anything.
Yeah. And then you can,
they
like,
do.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, and then you have, like, Safina, where it's like, I'm getting close, I haven't seen my Star Piatis, we might as well just, like, reset the whole system. And then also, like, other investigators going forward, where you just see, like, Patrice, things like this, like, yeah, they actually will matter for some people, which is the cool part of this kind of, like, quirky design.
Yep.
Yeah.
We also had the Desperate skills, which, when you're dealing a bunch of horror, you might be able to trigger with all these. Notably, what I think these things also did really well is they showcased how a Mystic Splash... I actually talked about this in another video on Mystic Week. But 05 Mystics have a big problem where they all feel very similar, right? But as we know, when we played, having like Mystic cards in your splash can be very exciting, and that's also why Daisy is so nice, because the O2 Mystic is a very powerful splash. And then also, like with Ashcan Pete, he has ways that he can deal himself horror with the Mystic cards, but then also facilitate these. So it shows like the capabilities that you're able to take with Mystic without just doing the normal shriveling thing. Yeah. And then the mistakes. We lovingly dubbed Alchemical Transmutation Poop to Gold, because
That's what it does.
yeah,
what it
well, it
does.
never does the gold part. It just
It doesn't seem to.
it's
no.
just poop to poop.
Poop the damage.
Yeah, so this was the kind of Akachi economy thing, or how like Agnes got forbidden knowledge. The idea with this one is Akachi gets the extra charge, so she's more likely to run it. But I think
You can use it to blank her weakness a little bit.
yes,
kinda.
that's also a good option for that to have. But
Yeah.
there's just like better things to do.
Yep.
Yeah, like David Renfield and Uncage the Soul.
Yep.
And then we have Key of Ys, which is also a bad card, like a chemical transmutation.
This was a Holy Rosary upgrade back in the day.
Yes. Yeah. Turns out when you have other forms of soak in the form of David Renfield and Arcane Initiate,
Yeah.
just making your stats really good were a good way to do things.
You already showed up prepared to take horror damage from like with your other cards, and also you could like juice
Yep.
yourself full of horror damage immediately.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
No, I think like the place it sits now, costing 10. That's
It's a good place for it.
that's
Yeah.
fine. Yeah, like a 10 costed card should be stupid and broken and like
Yeah. And
Also,
it-
what it does is a lot less broken than it was back then too.
yes, yeah. Yeah, the two times we've seen Key of Ys in recent play, it's when we were just crushing a campaign and we were like, I want to buy this because
I got
can.
10 experience. I got nothing to do with it.
Yeah, yeah. For the campaign, we saw the Poltergeist, which was a cool card. The fact that Mystics were able to deal with it in ways that other investigators couldn't.
Incentivize you to kill with spells.
And I'm very happy to say that this is actually something that they have revisited quite a few times. This is
Yep.
like a noted thing that's like an advantage for the Mystics in the terms of enemy design and why spells and relics matter. There was brain tests. I have Dance of the Yellow King to do that. It was just an easy like brain test that you had to do. And then Spires of Carcosa to showcase that Path of Carcosa was here to challenge everybody who wasn't a seeker and being like, can you help me get clues? Especially if you were, for some reason, a masochist and wanting to do a main Clover Mystic in
Yeah.
a two-player team back in the day as opposed to two flexes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but overall, again, actually, Path of Carcosa notably tests brain a lot and notably challenges horror a lot. Two things Mystics don't really worry about too much.
Yep.
Yeah. But then we got our
Book promo.
was your first ever book pro? No, Jenny was.
Yeah,
Jenny
Jenny
was. Yeah.
was.
But this was a new investigator. Norman Withers. And we were like, what a cool Seeker. I'm excited to see what this Seeker Investigator does. And then we looked at his deck building and we were like, only events? That's fucked up. But also, he upgrades into Mystic? That's cool. And like, he is, he was bad.
Yep.
Well, he was good because he still had 5 book, but
He
like
had a good stat line, but he didn't have the card pool to support his
because
ability.
then like his Mystic thing, you're just like, I guess I'm doing what everyone else does, but
With 4 brain,
I'm gonna just do my 5 book instead. Yeah.
Yeah, and then looking at him, so you look at his like signature here, and it tells you, oh, you want to manipulate the encounter deck. That's bad. I tried it. It's bad.
You did save my life.
I did once.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like it was not a good deck, and it was clunky, and you didn't do anything, and split the angle sucks. And that Halatinthos also sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was really neat to get a new investigator.
Yeah, we got another one too. Well, she was mainly
So much cooler.
mainly Guardian, and her thing was that she can get some splash Mystic cards, but also had some cards that heal Horror, which, as we go through, is a lot of Mystic cards, turns out.
Yep.
Yeah, because Mystics take Horror. But yeah, she was a nice thing, and unfortunately, her signature weakness was like a
It's like
curb
a little
stomp,
brutal.
so
Yeah.
Yeah, especially compared to the signature asset.
I mean,
Foolishness?
Foolishness was like pretty okay. He definitely led to some fun stories of like, I'm just pouring whiskey on a drawing of a cat.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it though. I'll help you be sane later.
Yeah, it'll be good
Like-
later, don't worry.
yeah.
I'm also sane, don't worry about
I
it.
am entirely normal and sane.
I'm a doctor, I would know.
Then, after this, we got the Forgotten Age, and you might be thinking, great, we got a Mystic who is going to explore the card pool in an interesting way, but no, we just got another 05 Mystic in the form of Father Mateo.
You got to play
Blessed
blessed cards.
Yeah.
Yes, the like 2 of them that I think were there when it
They
came
were
out.
also purple.
Yeah.
But
There was one Survivor one. There was
There's
one
good
Survivor
one, yeah, that came out in this expansion.
Yeah. However, with that said, we like to kick the guys when they're down. We do. But Father Mateo did continue to showcase the idea of,
Interacting with the token bag.
and then also like the stat line that was kind of just a little bit flat but higher brain than the other ones.
Yep.
But notably as well, it was kind of just the interesting plant of the Seal of the Elder Sign, right? Which is like, this is a cool deck that I can build towards to just have an absolute bangin' Elder Sign token.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do remember he was my least favorite investigator when we did a video for least favorite investigators. I did not like him on release. He was just like so, and I think it's just because
boring, right?
Yeah, it's just like another like
it's
mono
Jim
mystic.
Culver
Yeah.
again,
Yes.
and we're just trying to draw a specific token out of the bag.
Yes.
But
At least it was like beneficial
Yeah.
to you to draw it
Yeah,
instead of
yeah.
just being not bad.
Yeah. Or like still breaking your baseball bat.
yeah,
Yeah.
unlike Jim Culver, this guy, spoilers, does get better.
Yes, he does. He
Yes.
does. Yeah. Not in this box though. Like
No,
in the-
no.
Oh my no.
But like eventually,
Yes.
Yeah.
like
Yes.
season 5.
Yes, he's like, you're like, wow,
okay, cool.
this
It's
guy's
like,
kind of
man,
cool.
remember where this guy started? Everybody hated this character.
Yeah.
It's amazing. He
And
didn't get
unfortunately,
cut from
Jim
the show.
died on the way back to his
Yeah.
home planet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jim.
They did continue the spell assets with finally the last one, and what I talked about is now going to become the norm, which is fight, investigate, evade with Mists of Rillia, which was just a evade spell that followed the
is
same
good.
sort of thing, where it's just like you're going to use your brain instead of the stat that you normally use, and if there's a symbol token, something bad happens. And we played this one too, even though we weren't super like hyper focused on evading, just because the rate was pretty good. Akachi also liked it because it gave her a cheap thing to do, which also like had that extra use, really good for her weakness.
Yeah, it was fine early in the campaigns before you could afford additional copies of Shards of the Void, where it was like a pseudo fight spell.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a fight spell, but it was a deal with an enemy spell to
Yeah.
buy you time.
Yeah.
It was like particularly good in this campaign.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. And then we also had Shard of the Void, which sits in that awkward spot of just kind of being like not as bad as Song of the Dead, but just as like, why would I want to choose this over everything else that exists for like the spell?
We were excited about the time because it doesn't just do the +1 damage, right?
Yep. Oh, and we definitely played it. Like, we definitely
Yeah.
played it. But I think it's like, especially also when we're going to get to a card, maybe in the mistake slide of Forgotten Age, to kind of talk about the big elephant in the room when it comes to the Mystic class. Now, you might be thinking, What does Jim and Father Mateo need? I know. What if I take out the tokens I don't want to draw? So I draw more of the tokens that I do want to draw, namely skulls and elder signs. Well, worry not, because we brought in the seal mechanic here, which in theory was a cool mechanic, because we were all like, this is kind of neat.
Yeah.
And then you play with it and you realize that it was so neutered, probably for like fair reason, but it wasn't as like a successful fantasy as we were hoping it would be.
It was so clunky and expensive. You couldn't, like, you could do it, but you couldn't contribute anything else to the game.
Yes, yeah. But the idea was that you seal the tokens you don't want to pull, so you can draw the tokens you do want to pull with a big capstone of Seal the Seventh Sign with a very flashy effect of sealing the auto fail. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. Notably, Crystalline Elder Sign is not really in the seal thing. It's just like make your stats better.
Yeah, I mean it's good if you are specifically like Jim Culver or Father Mateo.
Yes, with
and
a very
fishing
good stat line.
You're fishing for like specific tokens.
Yeah.
Because then you get to do it and you're better, and the +1 was not something you wanted to draw anymore.
Yeah, and you're just like just
Your
always...
teammates are like, "What the hell, man?"
You always draw the plus.
But they're playing like Mark Harrigan and
it
like
don't matter.
like Finn, so it's like you guys are already covered on this. You don't need to worry about
You
that.
take the +1. It's like, what do you mean? Why I take the +1? You just pass tests anyway.
It's just like I'm the one who gets to. I'm the only one who gets a vote that matters on the +1 here. I'm playing fucking Jim Culver over here. But what I think a big thing for this is like not to the extent of Key of Yeast. This is something that we would upgrade into out of our Holy Rosaries when the time came.
Yep.
There was some token manipulation, which was really nice because we had Grotesque Statue in the core set, but it didn't feel like enough to actually do consistent token manipulation. So we had Olive McBride, level 0, who was played quite a bit. I think there were actually, if I remember, there were a lot of our Mystic decks that had Olive, Arcane Initiate, David Renfield, and we were kind of like rotating between the three until we got Charisma, and then Olive just lived there.
Yep.
Dark Prophecy was another way to pull tokens. It wasn't played really too much because the effect wasn't too good. It was played a lot more when Circle Undone hit, due to the spell asset reasons for that one.
Yep.
But it was nice to have just another way to potentially get more tokens. And then Premonition was a card that we played quite a bit, and we still play it because just having the knowledge of what to do when you see the token and like deciding how to do that is really cool.
Yes,
But
especially back then, the test required so much investment
Yes.
into what you were doing that it was actually productive. Like, play the Premonition, be like, we have a -3. Can someone like do the thing they were gonna do
Yeah.
and still beat the -3?
yeah. And what's
Yeah, there were also a bunch of tests back then that were all like, "This is kind of tough, and
Yep.
we have to do it to win."
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And notably, Premonition also presents another great learning opportunity that we actually did on the channel, where we realized you could use it at the just start of the investigator phase, or I can even use this in advance of my own test as part of the lightning bolt windows. There's a lot of things to do there.
Lightning bolts.
Yes.
Yeah,
So many.
Yeah, when is there a lightning bolt? Yes.
Yeah. Keeping this going with some real banger cards here, but Mystic still had a big issue, even though they got all these banger cards, which came to their spell assets. But it didn't stop Sacrifice, proving a good way to remove an Arcane Initiate and David Renfield. Enrapture to just give you more charges while investigating with your book, which was a bit tricky, but was still played, especially by Travis and I.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bryn doesn't book through Shroud, so I can't imagine Bryn ever playing that.
Why would you do that?
Yeah. Counterspell was another like cool. I mean, it was like good Defiance, right?
Yeah. It was like a war protection for the
Take
Chaos
that.
bag.
Take that, good Defiance.
Yeah, we played that one like a little bit. It was a solid, just luxury upgrade that we got
Yeah.
sometimes.
Same with Recall the Future. I played a lot of that one
Yeah, you like that one a
because it
lot.
was like lucky, but contrary to what people have said in our videos quite a bit, not nearly as good. It's not lucky, but it's still a fine option to have like one token solved if you can afford it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it also like Father Mateo gets much better as the series goes on.
Yeah. All right, and then we got Arcane Research. So
Hell yeah.
Mystics had an issue where so much of the XP that they were gaining compared to other people had to go into the spell assets to make their Shriveling better, make their Rite of Seeking better. So as I mentioned earlier, they were able to scale up with the game. The solution that the designers presented was arcane research. The downside was mental trauma, which wasn't actually scary even when this card first came out.
Yeah.
Because you had so much horror soak or like horror healing that you could take advantage of to like have it not matter. But then what unfortunately happened was this kind of just made the issue worse for a little bit. Like it helped, but it kind of just like made it so that all the Mystic decks kind of just like formed into the same ball, right?
Well, yeah, they had to take this into account when designing future cards, so the experience cost of them reflected it, and now you're in a place where they're designed around it, so you have to take it.
Yeah, yeah.
Or you're overpaying for all your cards.
Yes, and then also just as Mystics, I do think do upgrade very well because now campaigns give out so much, and then you just get this on top of all that. Like the idea for like the Mystic Fantasy was that they became very Eldritch God power in the final scenario, right? But now with all the things, Arcane Research is the first of these we're going to be talking about. It kind of became like, oh, I'm there at scenario 5,
Yep.
which in theory allows you to buy more of the fun upgrades, or it just makes a negative gameplay loop over time when you're kind of just, I could just upgrade more of my spells. I can go to Deny Existence 5, which we're going to be talking about right away.
Yeah, in hindsight, this card probably should have required you to take a mental trauma every time you wanted to use it, and maybe give you a slightly bigger effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, or maybe
as
like trauma.
trade-off.
Maybe if trauma reduced your maximum health and sanity rather than just being damaged that you could heal.
Yeah. Or even just alternatively, if they just limited this to just one off the get-go, it would really have slowed the pace down, right?
Yeah.
But being able to get 2 of them, and as Travis said earlier in Mystic Week, get an Rite of Seeking 2 for free. Right? Like, that's pretty good.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that card definitely should have followed the other permanent deck building design of like you can have one of these.
Yes. Yeah.
Which I suppose was something they hadn't really thought about yet because all of the other ones.
Because they
if
learned
you buy 2, it doesn't change
because
what
they
it does.
learned from Arcane Research.
Yeah,
That was the
So
Forgotten Age. This was an interesting shift for Mystics because while there were still brain tests that were important, like in the form of Lost in the Wilds, this one
fall off of a bridge and die.
this one tested the foot quite a bit, which you might be thinking, man, that really sucks for the Mystics. But if you look back at the Mystics, they actually have pretty good foot scores too. So yeah, like they're actually able to like manage pretty well still, which is like as a rogue, you're like, no, you're supposed to be bad at this. This is supposed to be my time. And then like the Finn's like watching as like Agnes hops across a pit and then he gets lost in the jungle and he's like, my brain. However, what Forgotten Age also did
My brain.
was presented enemies that were bad to kill, and most Mystics just brought their shriveling to deal with enemies. Additionally, I think low on supplies hurts Mystics quite a bit because the 2 resources is a much bigger hit against them compared to like everyone except for maybe Guardians. Because again, Guardians have a lot of expensive stuff.
Guardians just also had to play around its existence, right? Like
Yes.
you would fire your emergency cash and then spend all your money this turn, so that you wouldn't end up dumping it all and not being able to buy a weapon or be cop or whatever you were trying to buy.
Yeah, so and actually one of those things where I imagine Mystics choose like the discard one now and then, and everyone else is like, what are you doing? This card just says everybody loses 2 resources.
No.
Also, there are still good treacheries to Ward Protection. That's never going to change. I just didn't include anyone here. Next, we get to go to Return to the Night of the Zealot, which had nothing irrelevant in it.
The cards that suck for Mystic.
I don't even know what I looked at them because I was curious. I was like, I like that Travis put nothing, so I felt like instead of just skipping it, I had to put the slide in here to just put that in there.
Like it really just drive that point home.
We then got the Return to the Dunwich Legacy, which brought Rite of Seeking level 2, which was huge because now they also had in the Investigate option going from 0 to the midpoint to the capstone, which I think was very important. And then also a healing spell that wasn't bad. Like it wasn't great because it's still like, you know, you're not losing as opposed to winning, but it still is like pretty all right horror healing at the time.
Yeah, your other options were all like contingent on at least partially contingent on passing a test.
Yeah.
So being able to just heal 2 was pretty okay.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, and with that, we have our first slide change break. Yay! So, blink, and we'll be at the next one. All right. Circle Undone time, we had Diana Stanley. And I think the biggest thing that Diana Stanley did was be a mystic that was different, because she played Guardian.
Different.
She played Guardian, and she also only had one brain, but there was a cute little trick to her, where if she canceled or ignored something, which is big in both Guardian and Mystic, she got more brainy, and she was very fun to play.
It is very fun to play. Yep.
Yeah. She was also like, did you think that we would never make water protection better? And she's like, what if it's free?
Yeah. Just,
Like, no costs.
Yep.
and she got like, that is pretty good, Diana.
It's like pretty good.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get to lock up an Olive McBride.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Quite frequently, actually.
It's kind of weird how that happens.
Yeah.
Circle Undone was very interesting, though, because it had two mystics.
No, it didn't.
Marie Lambeau was kind of just mono mystic. She was kind of like Finn, where she had 5 splash cards, which were really fun to play with. But Doom wasn't really actualized. They got some support in this box in the form of one card.
The form of Baron
Just
but-
looks just like one card.
Yeah, but
Yep.
it's the idea was like that, you could take advantage of like David Renfield, Arcane Initiate, and get enough value. We are known Marie Lambeau dislikers on this channel, so no surprises here. Baron Sandy was also a pretty tough signature weakness.
He felt really bad with 3 players. You'd
Yep.
show up and like your mystics like, I'm dying now because of you.
Yeah, yes, yeah. It was not a great time.
Yeah.
And then Carolyn Fern also saw her official release with some signatures that were a lot less chained down by the scariest man you've ever seen in your life.
Yep.
Yes, yeah. But notably, Circle Undone, we got Sixth Sense and Wither, which were very big for Mystic assets because they didn't use charges.
Take that, Akachi.
They also wanted you to draw the symbol tokens
Yes.
to reward you for it rather than punishing you.
Yep. They were still spells, so they still upgraded very well with Arcane Research. And they also continued that trend of token manipulation, but as Travis said, you want to pull these tokens, which was a good reason to play token manipulation. Sixth Sense, we were like, yes,
Yeah.
please, yes. I think we played it like just because it was like new, we weren't really there, but like Sixth Sense, you want to be playing token manipulation to like really getting
Yeah.
that value. But what the nice thing about this level 0 Sixth Sense is that it was a good option for people like Zoe Samaras, who just had good brain and was able to splash into it, because it was just a way for you to pick up clues during downtime. So it was a very impactful card. Wither,
Sorry, Sixth Sense also was very important in that it allowed you to actually play Main Clover as the
yes,
mystic now.
yes. So like you use your Rite of Seeking as your last action, and like Sixth Sense or moved and Sixth Sense for your first 2
Yeah,
actions.
at worst, you could sit there and like Book View Shroud with your Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
Brain View Shroud.
BVS.
Yeah, it's
BVS.
still the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wither was there too.
We actually have more respect now for Wither than we did.
Yes,
I
we
think.
do. Yeah, and with Olive McBride too, Wither got like a big boon from that.
Yeah.
But it was not the way.
No.
Like we still played it because it was nice to have a way to like deal 1 damage, right,
Yeah, it was
without
just
using
like
a charge.
Another spell that you can
Yeah.
fight with.
But it wasn't like good for a very long time. And then suddenly it's like, wait a minute, this actually, you build around this and it's actually like not bad.
Yep.
Yeah. We also got some. Yeah.
Gets not bad in the way that Jim Culver doesn't.
Yes.
Yeah.
This also got some crazy cards in the form of Deny Existence. Deny Existence 0 is like a good card. And then you see the upgraded version, and it's like, that's what you want from the Mystic
I have
class.
the power.
Yeah. It's like the pure power fantasy where the game says no, and then you say, actually, yes, right? And that's like a very cool thing to build into. And you can kind of see, again, the spell thing. So like the Arcane Research helps you get there quicker. But it was a nice thing to build into. Diana Esperance was cool because she also gave Mystics a new archetype to kind of build towards, right? Like using those events over and over and over again, which was really cool. And then Four of Cups was just good because more brain. And we love brain.
Yeah, Diana was also neat because she had Heart Soak, which was rare in Mystic. As well as just being an ally that you kind of wanted to keep around, which... Did they even have any upgrade allies at this point?
I don't think so. I don't know.
Is this their first experienced ally?
Maybe. I feel like we would have seen it by now.
If there is one, they're clearly not very good because we can't remember them.
No, I think the only... I don't know when Arcane Initiate upgrade was. That Jacqueline, or was that might have been somewhere else. I'm actually gonna look. You can keep talking.
John and Jacqueline, fine. That one might have been Carcosa.
Yeah, but like that one is like the level 0 kind of did the thing. So I think that would be the only one.
But you didn't really have any...
yeah, she was Arcane Initiate was Carcosa.
Yeah, you didn't really have anything else to upgrade your ally slot into, so Diana Espress was a nice flashy thing for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This also was the first time that we saw multi-class cards that then upgraded, speaking away from the microphone, that then upgraded into colored versions of the two classes. So there was one for each of them, which I think is still my preference for multi-class cards. I think like it's a really cool thing to see for those. And Scroll of Secrets level 0, once it got tabooed, was a huge boost for Mystics of just having ways, like, basically like a worse but still playable Arcane Initiate that, like, helped you find cards that you want or, like, in a good world, discard your weakness. But then also still have something that you can then, like, take advantage of with forms of sacrifice or, like, an easy thing for you to get rid of when you're empty. That's kind of like, as Travis said earlier, Mystic's superpower is this. They usually always have something they can discard if the game asks them to discard.
Yep.
And then Enchanted Blade, which was really only used in Diana and Akachi. Because...
Did the 3-fist for it.
Yep. Yeah. And Jim's like, I'm here too, guys.
Yeah, you sure are, Jim.
Yeah, Jim. And then we have Vermis Mysterious, which I don't think is here as part of the mistake slide. I think it's just it's just the last card. Yeah.
It's just the last card, yep. This was our Doom support in this cycle for Marie. And this one did a nice job tying together. It's one of the first new tomes that we got for Daisy as well. Sort of did a good job tying together the Mystic and the Seeker relation, and how closely they are related to each other. In that it lets you replay spells or insights, which are the two big sort of event traits for each of those classes. Yeah, it's like a bit of a tough card to use, and we didn't play it all that much.
But I think that was not due to the power level of the card, but again, just Doom support was hard to do.
Yeah, it was a little scary, and a lot of times you were just, I'd rather use my brain to shrivel guys.
Yes. Yeah, the Mystic problem.
Yeah.
After Forgotten Age, where Foot was king, Mystics came back hard against the Circle Undone, which is fittingly the Mystic campaign because it has to do with witches and warlocks, right? So if they ain't good here, when's their campaign gonna be? Man, actually kind of funny now when you look at it. It really, the first campaigns kind of followed the classes. Like, where Dunwich was, acid-based, a lot of things that were big to kill. Carcosa, Spires of Carcosa. Forgotten Age's Foot.
Carcosa just is yellow.
Yes, it is just yellow. Circle Undone is mysticky, and then Dream Eaters is just fucked up and weird and not like anything else, like the Survivors.
I'd say it's much more like, because of all the damage.
That is the one that we always use for Survivors. But as you can see, they got a lot of big stuff that they were able to take advantage of here. Wraith, and there's other things that care about the spells or relics. One of the most annoying guys, because you can't kill them, the Lodge Neophyte, Mystics just say, no problem, I know that guy. Terror in the Night, which is representing the everything bad happens in threes part of this campaign. And Mystics were just able to be like, nah, that's not happening. Realm of Torment, Bryn's Bane. Mystics are just like, okay, I'll suffer this once. This card basically just says resolve the haunted effect on your location.
And then leave.
And then there was a set of cards, which Racked is representing, which is assets that you need to use your brain to get rid of. I have Frank Elwood's room to represent the haunted mechanic, which I think actually is notably the thing that Mystics have the biggest issue with in this campaign, because Mystics already hate failing a skill test when investigating, because they're usually spending a charge on their thing, right? Sixth Sense does alter it, but you're still using your right of seeking. So having to waste a charge, but then also trigger the haunted, hurts a lot more than a seeker just basic investigating their way through a haunted effect.
Yep. They still manage better than the other 3 classes, though, with the haunted, because they can get their brain numbers so high they don't actually fail all that often, but it's just more impactful when they do.
And then they also are starting to get, in this next cycle, again, as they design in advance, read the signs, which helps them kind of just circumvent haunted. But before we get to that, we got to return to Carcosa, which got an upgraded alchemical transmutation. Is this one good or bad? I've never played it. I did play it.
I think it's still bad, but it's like a lot better.
It's a lot better because you tested 0. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can get
It's
4.
like,
yeah.
It's like okay.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, this is very playable, I think.
And then upgraded Storm of Spirits, which is now actually dynamite. It does deal 3.
Yeah.
More dynamite per
Sick.
dynamite.
Yeah. And then we go to Dream Eaters, which has as
my
voted
guy.
on Monday, the strongest mystic in the form of Luke Robinson. So Travis, I'll let you talk about Luke Robinson because he is like your guy, and I am going to eat a chicken nugget.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
good.
I mean, that seems like a great trade.
Can we switch?
Yeah.
No, Luke is, he came out and he had a lot of weird rule stuff related to him, and he is very unique in what he can do. This was our Mystic 0 to 5 and Seeker 0 to 2 for that cycle, which are very powerful card pools to have. Initially, I think we were a little bit hesitant on his power level because he has the 4 brain, which is something that we kind of reviled and avoided playing Mystic. Because why would you want to start with 4 brain? You had to have the Holy Rosary to just get to where Agnes and Kachi started.
And a lot of that is to blame because of Jim and Mateo, who don't really have abilities compared to Luke, who...
Yeah, he gets like 2 of them. So he can play events as if he was in another location, which has caused a lot of rules headaches over the years.
Yeah.
And the gate box, which he starts and play with, which is a lightning bolt, you can exhaust it to go to the dream gate for a turn, which has caused a lot of other rules, not so much rules headaches, but a lot of rules abuse.
Yes, yeah. Very powerful investigator, and also a very fun investigator because he actually can explore all sides of his character in really cool ways.
Mm-hmm. He plays pretty much all of the archetypes and a lot of the intersects between Mystic and Seeker very well. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to invest a ton into protecting yourself or outside of what you're trying to do because you have such strong defensive capabilities with the gate box.
You just aren't there.
Yeah.
So the game's like you're in a realm of torment and you're like in here?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's fine in here. It's looking chill in here.
The game's like here's a giant guy and you're like in here?
Yeah. No, it's looking pretty chill in here too.
so.
And the
I don't
game's like,
think so.
stop it, Luke.
No.
We also got
throw away stuff equal to the make a test, and if you fail, throw away stuff equal to the shroud location of your.
You're like in here? Yeah. It's like, man, no, it's looking pretty chill in here. Oh yeah, what? Okay. Yeah.
Pretty chill place.
We also got Mandy Thompson. She gets. This is not her last time in these videos.
No.
She's gonna be here for Survivor.
Yep.
She can play Survivor.
Yeah, but why would you?
Have we ever done Survivor, Mandy?
I think I tried once with the Survivor, the one that gives you plus book for the number of copies you discover
Fortuitous
stuff. It
Discovery,
was
yeah.
not very good.
Yeah, but she can do Mystic as one of her 3 colors, and
Probably the default one, like the first one. It's the first one I thought of at least, just for the strong defensive capabilities of ward protection and deny existence. It's an easy thing to slot in.
Yep.
Yeah, and she does have 3 brain for whatever messed up reason.
Because she's the Seeker.
Because her ability's bad.
Yeah, for some. Yeah, you got me there. Her deck building's a little shaky.
Yeah.
I was gonna complain about her ability with May Either, but I'm gonna stay positive for this video, and instead we're gonna go on to Patrice Hathaway, who is so.
It's her first appearance.
After Agnes, who was actually a very notable Survivor. Like, she played, like, the Survivor part, which was just the survivability part of Survivor.
Yeah, where you just don't die.
Yeah. At a certain point, Survivor also kind of warped into, like, the mechanical dumping ground where they had, like, a weird idea, and they were like, we're going to do this here. And Mystic also kind of has that, but in a different way. And when you put the two together, you get Patrice, right? Where it's just like a very weird thing, but she plays both sides of her class very well. And I think she's a very successful investigator design.
Yeah.
She was harder to play when she first came out because even though at this point we had, 5 cycles, you're still like looking at 42 cards and being like, I don't know how to get there.
Yeah, a lot of them are not really playable.
Yeah.
For the play style she likes.
Yeah, but she I'm saying notably again. She got a big boon from Drowned City, so I think Patrice is sitting pretty today.
Yeah, she does occupy that kind of interesting space where they are, like, we do mechanically unique things, which, as Justin was saying in Survivor, is like, man, a little bit more support, this would be cool. We're never touching that again.
Yeah.
We're not going back.
Yeah.
As opposed to Purple's, like, nobody else gets to do this.
Yeah.
And we are never going to do it again.
Yep.
But the one-of is just like, like Counterspell or Quantum Flux or whatever. It's like, nobody gets to do this, but
you do.
we can one time.
Yeah.
And it's pretty good rate for it.
It was also
cool
really
stuff.
nice of Patrice to donate her 2 extra stat points to Mandy and Tony.
Yes.
They needed that.
That was very kind. Yeah. She was just like,
Somebody had to take it.
Yeah.
Like who? Your good news, your stat point reduction was a success.
it does make me wonder if, like, while they were testing, they're like, they need a little bit of a boost. Patrice, you know what, let's tune it. Like, maybe she was like 4-2-2-4 to start, and they're like, nah, we should,
No, I thought that was too similar to,
what's her nut, Safina?
yes, 4-3-3-2 would have been better.
Yeah,
I
but,
think Jim.
yeah, we love Jim, don't we? Don't we love Jim?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
All right.
He loves a little
He tries to
strong,
trick
but
me to play bad cards all the time.
This cycle did not have spell assets, but it did have incredibly impactful spell events. Can you guys all do me a favor? Put up your hand and cover the 3rd card on the screen, because it's not here for this part of this conversation.
okay.
Spectral Razor and Read the Signs are considered to be Mystic staples. Not necessarily both of them, but like individually, they are very good cards. This is especially true for Spectral Razor because it is one of the first cards that we got that dealt 3 damage on an attack, which is
It's big. Very
It's-
much bigly.
it's the Asphaleth hump,
Yeah.
which we haven't talked about in a very long time, but we used to talk about it all the time. But the idea of dealing 3 damage is
Odd numbers are how they make guys difficult.
exactly, right? And being able to do that while also engaging the enemy is,
Yeah, so you
So
can't
much
you
safety.
can't like miss and gorp your teammate.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then Read the Signs was just a good way for you to get clues. Having like more options to get clues that are not just your spell assets was a nice thing to have. And whenever the text on it does matter for blanking the location, you feel like a god. Especially when you're doing it in a challenge run as Diana Stanley and you're able to put it under your
Yeah,
investigator
oh my
card. Yeah.
God.
And then Ethereal Form, it turns you into a ghost.
That's pretty
Super cool.
Yeah, and I think honestly also probably like pretty good in lower player counts, but I think it's just like dead in the water for our 3-player style.
I do really like how they said you are ethereal and then put like 3 lines of text explaining what that means, but also didn't keyword it.
Yes, I mean they went to the Hearthstone thing where it's like instead of saying like it was like that Mancrick guy where it's like when you shuffle a guy into your deck, when you draw it, attack an enemy, he's a 3/10. But it just says, help Mancrick find his wife. Yeah. And you're like, I want to do that. I want to help Mancrick find his wife, you know?
Okay, sure, man.
Yeah, it's the same with Ethereal. It's just like, it could have just said, enemies cannot engage you, you cannot attack or deal damage, but no, you're a motherfucking ghost.
One
and
day
that's
we'll get
cool.
another card that says you're ethereal with no reminder text.
And we'll be like,
beautiful.
wow. Yeah. Continuing the cards that were actually pretty impactful to the class, we had Scroll of Prophecies, which is a good way to get card draw in the Mystic class. Yeah, it's Travis plays it like all the time.
I like this one a lot.
Yeah, and you played it even back when it came out. Like this is like since it's been there, it's like always just been a place in your decks.
Yeah.
And then Twilight Catherine Price, which
You need.
She was pretty big when she came out.
You wanna take your investigator and be Akachi?
Yep.
Yeah.
Because you just can't.
And I think like in lower player counts, she is still like incredibly good. Just being able to like never run out of your rite of seeking is a lot more exciting than just playing the other newer spells that has kind of just eaten up a lot of the other mystic decks.
Well, yeah, back then you still only had shriveling and like rite of seeking to do your things. So.
Yeah. And then Open Gate, which was good scenario campaign tech. Just like
Still
movement
is.
around. Yep.
We
It's
love
just
this
nice,
one.
those things. My favorite thing about Open Gate, we had to tell the story again. When we made a thing, it's like, we're all going to play Mystics and we're all going to play Open Gate. And then Bryn and I removed 2 of them on our first upgrade, and Travis kept 3 in the whole game. That was great. Yeah.
I thought it was good for the campaign.
Yeah.
It was good for my deck.
In Dream Eaters, we had myriad cards, and Mystic doing their thing explored them in a very interesting way. One of these is with Empower Self, which
They're all different, but the same.
they're all different but the same. Yeah, they all share one spell slot, like 3 children sleeping in like one bunk of a bed because they're triplets, and can't afford shoes for them, so they have to sleep in the one bed.
What?
I can't afford to feed my kids,
I
Travis.
thought you said you can't afford shoes for them.
Oh, I can't feed them either. I have to eat too much. I have to eat these nuggies. They're for me only.
I guess no, you're not.
These cards were neat and interesting, and we saw a lot of fantasies. We were like, oh, Diana Stanley, right? I probably at one point said, I gotta play this at gym, right? But then it turns out you draw the wrong one all the time. You draw the foot one, and you're like, I needed the book or the fist one. And they're like, nope, you got the foot one.
I've played these cards successfully once, and it was glorious, but I don't think I ever will again.
Yeah. But the design on them were really cool for exploring the myriad thing. And then likewise with Mind's Eye was a very good thing here to help Patrice out. That was kind of like the main place for it. It's been explored in other places recently, but I still think that this is like probably really good now with Enraptured 2.
Lots of things are really good with Enraptured too, Justin.
Yes. That's gonna
Salt.
it just makes everything better. I'm gonna do that.
You gotta put salt on your Enraptured too.
Yes, yeah.
That's crazy.
But yeah, no, Mind's Eye was a nice little option and another cool exploration of Myriad. And then we got Stargazing and Shining Trapezohedron. Travis, I'll take you this one because I have another nugget to eat and not give to my children.
So Stargazing is a really cool card. Is it a good card? Not really, but it's very cool and fun. We were excited when it came out because it interacts with the encounter deck. So you play it, and then you shuffle a copy of The Stars Are Right. Every time I see it on the page, the spacing makes it do that in my head. Like on a game show or something. The stars are right.
Everyone's favorite astrological game show.
Yeah. But yeah, when you draw the stars are right, you choose whoever draws it gets to pick an investigator, and then they get to draw a card, get a resource, and take an action immediately. Feels really good to draw that during the Mythos phase instead of a card that hurts you. And has been tabooed to you only play it. Oh no, it just says on there you play it twice a game.
Yeah.
Wow, good job, guys. Yeah, we played this one like a little bit.
Yeah.
Mostly for fun.
So I think what was really cool about Stargazing was in the later part of the Lord of the Rings card game, which was Fantasy Flight's big LCG before this one, was that there was a lot of like ranger cards that involved putting cards into the encounter deck.
Yeah, with like Tom Bombadil as like the big dumb one.
Yeah. And those ones, they were payoffs for them were a lot easier. So like we played experience with those and we're like, these are going to be good. Stargazing turns out is actually a lot more limiting than those. So that's like, it's like...
Yeah, I mean, Lord of the Rings card game also it wasn't a cost because you just built your deck out of the cards that you had.
Yep, exactly, right.
So.
But it was a very fun card, and I still, whenever doing a standalone, if I have one experience, it's usually the thing that makes it, just because you don't have to think. You're just like, the stars are right. And then we have Shining Trapezohedron, which,
Sucks ass.
to all the people who are saying Blood of Thoth sucks, man, let me tell you, while that card does suck, Shining Trapezohedron costs you 4 experience and ultimately creates problems that it doesn't solve.
Correct. At least blow the thought, yeah, I can put it in my deck for free and be like, this sucks, and take it out. Shining Trapezohedron, you play 4 experience, you play it, and you're like, oh god.
Yep.
You know?
You try to play your stupid yummy mice, you try to play your stupid knife hands, and you fail the test, and you're like, ah.
That's the deck I'm going to play in the Drowned City. It's the Shining Trapezohedron Dexter pile.
Let's go. I'm always down to seeing you play Dexter.
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be terrible.
Just tempering expectations now. It's gonna eat ass. Yeah. All right.
Not in a fun way.
No. In the human centipede way. Yeah.
In the like asparagus or cuttlefish paste or whatever.
Yeah. All right. We then had our first parallel. Nope. We have the campaign.
Yep.
So I think I've said this for all of these for Dream Eaters. It doesn't really like challenge anything in specific. There's actually one scenario where none of the encounter cards have tests. They're all like just stipulations that you have to follow. So it's not too bad. The scary cards, because they can go wrong, are the Dreamer's Curse and the one that deals horror. Mystics, however, are very well prepared for those cards because, again, it's a brain treachery.
And the brains count double that you commit to them.
Yes, which they just have. The Threads of Reality, the thing that blanks assets, is going to hit Mystics harder because their expensive assets are usually their spells.
Or how they do thing.
But they do get rid of it pretty good because, like, again, David Renfield.
Your ritual candles or whatever, you're like, I can do without this.
Yeah. And then there was Swarming, which... not too bad either. I think like this Inconspicuous Zoom is probably the hardest because it cancels excess damage, which hurts Mystics a bit more than other people using melee weapons, Guardians. But yeah, overall, I think this campaign as a whole, nothing notable.
Swarming wasn't too bad, mostly because they had one of like the 2 cards in the game that dealt damage to every enemy in your location.
Yes, Storm of Spirits, yeah.
So
yeah. All right, now it's parallel time. Our first parallel investigator, she could play 5 Mystic cards. And or Guardian. All right.
Yep.
One thing that's cool is her brain scales like Diana. So they're basically
she's Mystic. You're right.
Yeah. They're basically sisters.
Yep. But they hate each other.
Oh yeah.
So much.
They don't talk.
No. But then we also got our first, not our first, but another new Mystic in a book promo in the form of Dexter Drake, who is about to be eating ass with a Shining Trapezohedron on PBG, coming to a channel near you. Just on the show, Dexter Drake, the Magnificent, eats ass. But
yeah, I mean, that is quite a headline in like 1926.
But Dexter Drake was, Bryn...
This guy's sick.
Yeah, he loves Dexter. He loved Dexter then. And also just a really cool, like, opposite Safina, right? Where it's like, plays like...
Yeah, we don't care about events. We
care about assets.
Exploring the intersection of, like, cheap assets that are likely disposable.
Yes, which Rogue and Mystic both have, yeah.
They both do.
Yeah. And he'll be coming out fully in...
Yeah,
actually the next cycle. But there is a few more stops we have on the way.
Molly Maxwell is also sweet if you want to build around one of those weird ritual cards that are normally very hard to dig out of your deck.
Relic.
Yeah.
Or some sort of a relic, or something.
Yeah.
Item.
Yeah. Who knows? I only have one item in my deck, Shining Trapezohedron, because I have all the spells I need to play.
I'll name an item and we're like, okay, he just starts conflict flipping cards. Oh no.
No. Just, that sinking feeling you get? Yeah. We then went to Return to the Forgotten Age, which brought an upgraded Chthonian Stone, and I believe the middle point for Mists of Relia, which was really nice. Notably, the upgraded Chthonian Stone is actually a very nice upgrade if you are looking at exploring Sealing, because one, it's cheaper to get down in the first case, but it also doesn't just go away on the first autofill.
If you get unlucky.
Yeah.
It doesn't just explode.
Mists was kind of just like, again, having that stepping point is nice. Yeah. And then Backpack is just like, the numbers on that card are insane.
It also, like, it wasn't super relevant at the time for Mystic, because you didn't have it wasn't relevant for like was other classes. You were relying on your spells on your items, but it became very relevant when Scarlet Keys came out. If you're gonna play with those Doom things, you kind of need backpack to play consistently.
Yeah, and even then, like, Mystics would still play it to grab, like, Holy Rosaries. This is also when, like, Jewel of Aureolus started to, like, pick up a little bit because you could, like, tutor it out. Yeah. Yes, which is very nice for them. Then we got the Investigator starter decks with Jacqueline Fine representing the Mystic class. She represented continuing to, like, all the points of Mystic, which is token manipulation and having 5 brain. And a lot of horror.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and then also what I really like about her though was that she has like the support side of it where she can use it for other people.
That's wrong though.
But it is one of those things that it just like she gives you a lot of security for the team of just having essentially a grotesque statue printed on her character card. Yeah. Now get ready because you're going to be seeing these a few more times in the video where we're just putting all of these together.
Wow, that's.
Yes. Travis just left me a little note, which is just like, just so you know, I'm no longer putting things together. I'm no longer doing by level. Yeah. And you're like, you do it. So I'm like, all right, Travis.
I regret it.
Yeah. Because these are now, we're going to start seeing the cycle of these cards I've been talking about, the fight, investigate, and evade. And we don't want to talk about them in too much detail, but the big thing that these ones did was give you options, right? And that option was, unfortunately, if I'm the fighter, I'm putting in both. If I'm the kluber, I'm putting in both.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Well, because it's like it was variance, but at the same time, it was like not variance, right? It was like the same thing.
Hey, you have a choice now. You're like, no, don't give me both.
Yes, yeah. Please. And actually, honestly, if you're a flex, you're running all 8 of them. You're running all like.
I probably run Ineffable Truth too.
Well, we didn't when we first started.
Yes, because we were stupid.
Because again, a set of evade.
We're like, this card's bad.
But this card actually is like Blinding Light, evade damage, which is
really good.
Good, which is good. Yeah.
At level 5, it's actually kind of insane.
Yes.
It should be though.
Yeah, it should be. Well, I mean, it's not actually 5. It's like 1.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you actually can do it now for 0 the whole thing. Yeah.
You gotta put in the microwave for a little bit, you know. Like,
one thing that was really cool about these ones was the symbols on them were the good tokens.
Yeah,
and that was a nice change of pace. I do ultimately think it probably would have been fine if they just like kept the same shriveling text on all of them and that was just like the baseline. But it was nice to have like something that felt different.
Well, the intention for them, I think, was that they built the rest of the Jacqueline deck around drawing the symbol tokens for your other effects.
Yeah. And
so they wanted you to like not have to. They didn't want you to be like, oh, these symbol tokens are bad sometimes. The Investigator decks were intended for newer players,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
They don't want to confuse you with those.
Yeah.
They want to be, these tokens are the ones you want to draw, these tokens are the ones you don't want to draw.
Yep, yeah. So. Okay. We also got Guts, which I put here because the other 3 are kind of economy, but an upgraded Guts was just like...
Also technically economy.
Nice.
Yeah, because it's great card draw. Yeah. When it's free, which it usually costs 1 XP with everything Mystic has now, I usually buy it like first because card draw is really easy to get with this card. And just having like more to succeed by is really good, especially if you are, as you're upgrading your deck in pieces, as Mystics do because of all of their bonus X upgrading. You just still maybe you draw your level 0 of your Reserve Flame or your Shriveling. Man, it's so nice to say another spell at this point in the video.
Yeah, I know, right?
We also had Voice of Ra and the 2 Robes of Endless Night to be economy, basically resource economy. They were both very nice for that. Voice of Ra also received we played it when it first came out, but mostly in Jacqueline and if you were playing Olive.
Yep.
But at this point now, it's been tabooed to also just be symbol token, and it's just now generally good economy for Mystics.
Even then it was fine. You could expect 3 resources out. There was variance. Sometimes you'd get only one. Sometimes you would get 5 or even 7.
Yeah.
But it was
fine. Good
not
expected
consistent.
3. Yeah. And I guess like at that point too, you kind of just like didn't care. You're like, I'm gonna hit my Voice of Ra, or my like Uncage the Soul, and whichever one I hit, I'm gonna use to get my thing out, and then
Yeah.
I'm gonna go from there. We also got Crystal Pendulum, an upgraded Arcane Studies, mid grotesque statue. Well, not a mid, just a lower grotesque
one,
statue,
yep.
and then a level 2 hypnotic gaze.
Which is actually pretty okay. Yeah, Crystal
Damage,
Pendulum
yeah.
was a nice side grade from the Holy Rosary, offering you some card draw if you were lucky or cheating because you're playing Jacqueline.
Or if you're just cheating like we do.
Or,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
cheating.
You got your skin pocket ready.
Yep.
The Arcane Studies for it. There's also a level 2 version, a level 0 version, but we don't talk about
That one was in Return to Night of the Zealot, which notably had nothing.
I maintain yeah, I mean, they are actually more relevant than for other classes because of Down the Rabbit Hole, which we'll see in a bit. But
Yeah.
no, this one's really good. Just +2 Bringer, +2 book every turn. Very strong.
Yep.
The Grotesque Statue 2 is fine.
Yeah, it was just nice to have like a lower one to get to. Yeah. But I think also let's go to Crystal Pendulum. I think it was nice to have a different choice for that, and then especially for Jacqueline. But I think now with like current Arkham, Crystal Pendulum is like I see it more often than a Holy Rosary now because it's a lot easier to manipulate tokens and like just get some cards, which is always
Healing
welcome.
is also a lot stronger now.
Yes,
so,
100%.
The 2 points of soak are less relevant
Yes.
than they
Yeah.
used to be.
All right. That is it for the investigator deck. All the investigator decks were impactful. Except for Survivor was, but for the one investigator. But
There are
the
a
Mystic
couple
one.
really strong cards in
There are.
Survivor 2.
Oh yeah,
The
yeah.
Derringer is sweet.
And the-
This
yeah.
is not the...
No, let's go to Survivor. We got.
I actually argue the Guardian one's the least impactful, probably.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
Most of
because
the,
it's for,
aside
mostly
from
for Nat
Stand
Show.
together, they were like just Nacho cards.
That's fair.
So,
Yeah.
welcome to Investigator Starter Deck Week.
Yeah.
Look for it coming to a channel near you.
Yeah, not this channel though. No.
Well,
Someone
I mean,
else's.
Yeah, who knows?
All right. We then go to Innsmouth, which actually had the proper release of Dexter, and I still stand by that I think he has one of the coolest signature weakness designs in the game.
It is
In
sick.
terms of like impacting him while also using his ability.
Yeah, it sucks, and you do have to figure out how to sort it.
Yes. But you also can like
Like-
use it to your advantage.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, right.
Yeah. But yeah, it was nice to have him in an actual official release. He was good then, good now.
Yeah, nothing's changed.
Yeah. There was also Sister Mary, who had the Mystic Splash, Guardian Mystic. So, like the opposite of Diana, who we saw earlier. She does play with Blessed tokens, which Mystic, as we see, also plays with Blessed tokens. But she's able to explore her Mystic side very well. Sometimes, like, it's you especially when we first came out, remember we had that, like, balance of, is she a brain fighter or a fist fighter? And I think it's kind of like, at this point, fallen more towards, like, neither. But if you have, I guess the answer is still, she's kind of like a support. She's not a fighter.
Yeah.
Is kind of where she ended up. But she can explore the mystic stuff with token manipulation in a really cool way. Now, it's time for the cards. This is the cycle here that we have, which is all focused around cursed cards.
Yeah, they do the mystic thing, but with curses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the design on
You either-
these...
You either reload or better.
Yes, and I think the design on these are really neat in terms of what they do. They feel very different, and they don't feel like... well, you can see that this is like kind of the... Well, actually, Sixth Sense and Wither were kind of the start of Mystic assets having a downside. This one, I think, still kind of fits because the downside is you're getting -2 to your test to get the
A little
benefit.
bit, yeah.
But because they're a little bit swingy and not exactly like reliable, they aren't played too much, but like the power fantasy and the high end and like the high rolls are still very appealing about these cards.
Yep.
They certainly are.
Yeah.
You also have to deal with your teammates complaining of all the curses in the bag.
You know, I'm gonna just say, after you got through your revenge and you were the one,
That wasn't a shot at anyone. It's just a general thing. People don't like having the curses in the bag, okay?
All right, Bryn, you know what we need to do next? Get out of the city. No, so you're gonna be playing Shine Trapezohedron, and I'm just gonna be.
Yeah, I'm gonna be playing Shiny Trapezohedron, but putting curse tokens into the bag, so I can't pass the fucking test.
And then I'm gonna be just fucking like Mandy, putting curse tokens in, and then I'm gonna use my ability, and I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna either search another 3 cards or choose 2. I'll choose neither of those options and just do nothing. And then Travis is gonna be like, "What are you doing?" Let me off of this.
Why am I being creeped? And Bryn's like, no, I'm trying to play the game.
All right. Ends with Conspiracy was the Bless and Curse, and Mystics explored that with the Paradox mechanic, which is the idea that you want to draw both Bless and Curse. Wow. And I think it's like...
This is like almost good.
Yeah, it's almost good, and it has some cool cards, but like the payoff is just like you pass a test, which like Survivor and like Seeker and Guardian and Rogue have, but like with other upside.
Yeah.
But there's some big flashy cards here. Rite of Equilibrium, which we noticed was like the most fun card from the Mystic class, because just putting 20 tokens in the bag is really cool. But you can kind of see like there's like the Tides of Fate and Ward of Radiance. Tides of Fate, which can do the switching, which I think is a really cool part of just like, you know, changing the contents of the bag.
There's a lot of, it's physically clunky to do, but there's a lot of really neat things you can do with Tides of Fate.
Yeah. And then Ward of Radiance was just another ward of protection. Yeah. Which also people, I do remember this when this card was coming out, because people were like, you should just run this in your decks as another ward of protection. And luckily cooler heads prevailed, and it's now like only for blessed ones, but it is still just like a nice piece to have in like blessed decks, because it is just another ward of protection for that.
Yep.
Yeah.
The curse ones are after.
Yes. Okay.
These are the other good cards from this cycle.
Right, yes. Sword Cane, which was here as Dexter Synergy, but actually ended up becoming a piece that a lot of Mystics just ran in their hand slots. And ultimately, for some time, kind of just replaced Ritual Candles, because now there was a way for me to evade or fight without having to spend a charge, which was really appealing. Abyssal Tome. Fish Book, yeah. A cool Doom card that also actually was like worth the payoff, but we still didn't really play it because Doom was just kind of still just a little bit.
But we did this week.
We did this week, yeah, to great effect too.
Yeah.
And then we got Ikiak, which was another upgraded Mystic ally. They boosted Brain and Book while also having a really cool mechanic that dealt with basic weaknesses. However, unfortunately, I have actually only once seen an Ikiak actually use the bottom ability to grab a basic weakness. And that's probably a fault of the pilot, but I think it's a big reason why she ultimately... Yeah. Which is ultimately, I think, why Ikiak just doesn't get played, because she doesn't really do enough compared to what the other Mystic allies do. Because they are all very good.
You can just buy some level 0 guys and move on with your life.
Yep. And then we have the 3 strongest cards from the Innsmouth Conspiracy.
It's the mistake slide, Justin. It's actually just a coincidence. They're all curse cards.
All right.
These are definitely the 3 strongest cards.
Yeah, they're so, they're so good. Promise of Powers, though. The other 2 must be equally strong, right, Travis?
They must be.
So, Promise of Powers design makes sense when you look at this purely from a number standpoint, right? Where I'm putting a curse token into the bag to get 4 wild icons. But I'm really only getting 2 wild icons because somewhere down the road, someone is getting -2.
Yeah.
Turns out,
maybe not.
Math doesn't always accurately portray what can happen in games like this. And Promise of Power is just
4.
Just 4.
Just 4.
Just 4, yeah. It's a very powerful card, and yeah. We all play it. And I mean, honestly, I'm not sick of it. It's just like a good card.
It's just good, yep.
Yeah.
I cut that card all the time, actually.
Well, it doesn't warp your deck. It's not...
It doesn't ask anything. It's just like...
Yeah, it's just there. It's just good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need to fit more of these experienced cards into my deck. I can't do that unless...
Yeah, unless I cut this Promise of Power.
Take the Promise of Powers out, and then Travis gets mad.
Yeah.
We had Curse of Aeons, which was the inverse of Blessing of Isis, which, if you don't know what that card does, if you draw 2 Blessed tokens, you get to treat them as an Elder Sign and return them to the bag. Now you must be thinking, that's a pretty powerful
effect.
effect.
This one does that, and you treat it as the autofail, and you return the curses to the bag.
It should. It really should.
Yeah.
Because then at least it'd have a reason for existing and be funny.
So I just love to imagine anytime they find a skull picture in their art, they're like, we got to make Jim use this somehow. So with this one is, if you drew 2 curse tokens, you get to treat the second one as a skull. The first one is still a curse.
You got to treat both his skulls.
Is that why Parallel Jim is so fucked up and plays allies, so that there's a reason for him to play the decorated skull? That's crazy.
Maybe.
Play it?
I actually don't know. We'll find out in a few slides.
Okay.
Well, like 40 minutes
The
probably.
magic of versatile.
But yeah, this card, I've only played it when I played every card. That's the only time, and I think I did it in a standalone.
That's how you can tell it's good.
Yeah, when I've only played it for that one time. I actually have not seen anybody play this card either. So did it make an impact? Yes. Such a good impact that people know it's too strong, they don't want to play it.
Yep.
It's like Cyclopean Hammer. It got like pre-banned. We also got Flute of the Outer Gods. Hey, all you Blood of Thoth people out there, man, let me tell you. 8 experience for this card was crazy. This was like, Shining Trapezohedron was like, thank God this card came out, because we stopped dunking on that card, because this one was like insane, and it it was a shame. I remember when it came out, it was kind of a shame because it was an Arkham Horror 2nd Edition card, Eldritch Horror card, and we love when those show up, and we were just like, oh.
It's also like clearly supposed to be the big flashy payoff for the curse stuff in Mystic, and it is not.
No, it is not. Yeah, so unfortunately not.
Yeah,
I'll
play that in.
I don't know how to fix this one.
I'll play it for 0, and then I'll throw it away to play a different card for 1 less.
That's so much value.
Good.
Also, the last time when we talked about this during the yearbook,
I'll need your copy.
We said it's no longer exceptional, but it is limit 1 per deck.
Oh,
great.
They solved their problem. Yeah, sorry, Bryn.
That's even the point.
Yeah. We then go to the Innsmouth Conspiracy campaign, which I think is actually a challenging campaign for Mystics.
It's a little tough.
Mostly because it really penalizes movement or forces you to spend actions moving. Mm-hmm. And I think that Mystics don't really have a great solution for that beyond just taking a move action. Guardians have Safeguard, Seekers and Rogue, and then Survivors, they don't do
Survivors,
anything.
yeah, they're just like, what was I going to do with my actions anyway?
Yeah, Innsmouth Conspiracy also does a lot of damage to people, which is the stat that Mystics don't have a lot of usually.
Yeah.
There's also Syzygy's resources, right?
Yes,
In the same vein
3 of them as well. Yeah.
One of those.
Yeah. Notably as well, this is when we start to see the shift of campaigns kind of testing skills across the board. And I have Memory of Oblivion to kind of showcase that. It still tests brain. It also tests book, but this is like where we start to see it's kind of more... I think like Treachery design is like better than just being like only brain and sometimes foot. It's now kind of like a little bit more everywhere.
Yeah, designs like this are nice because you can have harsher punishments if you give people more options for dealing with it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh wow, that's a slide change break.
Hell yeah.
That one took no time at all.
Cruising.
All right, moment of silence because Gloria Goldberg has been the first slide of Slide Pack 3 every week, but this is her last time. She's gone after this because she's not here for Survivor Week.
She's gonna die soon.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll put her in anyway.
I'd be so. You honestly should put it in there and see if I realize that she should be in there or not. Because you should. That would be a great little thing. Anyways, Gloria Goldberg was kind of the climax of the mythos manipulation fantasy of the Mystic class. And it turns out that's a very good thing to do in order to win the game of Arkham.
Very good.
Just being able to control the mythos and have more power over mythos manipulation turned Gloria to be very powerful. So much so that she actually hasn't gotten anything new, and she's unlikely to get anything new, but she still has all she really needs to get there. Mm-hmm. She's also the investigator that I've heard the most people say after playing her, they never want to play her again. She is just that. She just like declaws the Mythos deck that much. It's kind of crazy. Yep. Mm-hmm. Great Mystic design, though, in terms of the philosophy, though, of being
Yep.
able to control the Mythos deck. So,
A little strong.
yeah. We then went to the Return to Circle Undone, our final Return to, which gave us an upgraded Sign Magic. We didn't talk about the original Sign Magic.
It sucks.
Yeah.
Well, it's like pretty mid.
It sucks.
It has like, and it, sure.
Why would I play a 6 out of 10 card when I have 3 dozen 10 out of 10 cards to pick from?
Because you're trying to do something weird.
No, it sucks.
What this thing did was it allows you to play a bunch of spell assets and then like use multiple spell assets,
The same action.
which is really neat. Unfortunately, with a recent FAQ change, this received an unexpected nerf, where different means different by title. So if you have 2 Sixth Sense in plays, you couldn't, for example, use one and then use the other, even though it's a different card.
I thought that's how that always worked.
No, just different.
Yeah, that does kind of make sense, I guess.
It does.
Or
Yeah,
whatever.
it does.
Yeah. It's fine.
And then we have the Hierophant, which was some arcane slot support, which also you can use accessory slots. So it's just like the Tarot that kind of had like a
I
cool
thought that would
build
give
around.
you 2 temporary health.
No. No.
But yeah. We then got a revised core set, which the notable addition to this was Rite of Seeking 2. So people had a clue spell in their starting deck.
They didn't give you Rite of Seeking 0.
No, and that's
No,
my
it's
biggest.
crazy.
That's my biggest issue. Is I really wish, because you also now, as I realized, you don't get Shriveling 3, which means that with this upcoming rotation, if, for example, Dunwich Legacy doesn't stay evergreen, because they said some stuff is going to stay, potentially, we did not solve this Mystic problem when they had a great time to, which does not bode well for the future of this class, potentially.
No, they can just reprint them.
And honestly, they probably should. Like, they probably should. And I just wish they included those in here.
I mean, it would be nice if they just gave us a small package of cards and they're like these in addition to the core set or evergreen instead
Yes.
of like keeping certain sets.
Yep.
But yeah,
Yeah, because they haven't said what that ever, like, they haven't said
I bet they
anything,
haven't
so
decided.
just, yeah.
Yeah,
So we're
feel
just,
free to
don't
steal
know.
that one, Fantasy Flight.
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
we know you're watching.
Yeah, they're always watching.
Yeah. Well, that's them watching. That's the
Oh,
the
it's
camera.
kinda fucked up.
Yeah.
It's kind of fucked up.
Did you enjoy the eating ass Dexter bit? All right. We then came to Edge of the Earth. Oh, man.
How funny would that be though? Just like you get your spoiler cards and you're just like, this one eats ass.
Yeah, no, there's very different levels of content on playing board games, depending on if there is some sort of communication with people who want their content done certain ways. I love every time when I have to tell the group, it's like, okay, we can't swear in this video. Yeah. And then they're like, oh, okay. And then they do, and I'm like, okay, I'll bleep it out. Anyways,
Edit, do kind of editing.
Lily Chen was, like Norman Withers, who, spoiler alert, is going to be coming up right away,
So many less cards.
is Mystic on the front, but actually Guardian on the back.
Right,
She,
like a mullet.
yes, yeah.
An inverse mullet though, kind of.
No, it's like-
Guardian's definitely.
It is, yeah. It's like hair down here, and then it's just like buzz cut on the back.
Yeah.
But Lily Chen kind of had a similar issue that Sister Mary had, where when she first came out, people were kind of building around the Mystic side, and I think at this point now it's settled where it's like, yeah, you just go punch, and
You
there's,
just
I mean,
show up and you punch a bunch.
in all fairness, she did not have many pieces to really take advantage of it. I remember when we first were talking about Edge of the Earth and the investigators, we all kind of agreed that Lily was the most awkward level 0 deck, which I think now falls onto Monterey Jack's shoulders, his cross to bear.
Yeah, that's
I
probably
don't
his
think
fault.
so because I don't think about him at all.
That's fair. But also we had the actual official Norman Withers, who has a much better signature and a pretty neat
much
signature
better.
weakness too.
So cool.
Yeah, I think it was just nice to see him actually officially in the
And-
game. And yeah, high five. Whoosh. When you see, if you don't high five your deck when he shows up, you ain't playing Arkham.
Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, this card's also funny sometimes when you're like, I don't want to draw my other weakness, so I'm just not going to draw cards for the rest of the game.
Sometimes the game's like shuffle an asset into your deck, and you're like,
I
Nope.
can't.
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, get the whole shuffle random basic weakness in. No, 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 no. I cannot. All right. Onto the cards themselves. We got the cycle of spell assets here. And this is when things start to get a little bit wild. But notably, actually, this is kind of like there's not really another notable spell thing that's like on this level.
Yeah, we actually haven't got spell assets in a little while.
Yes. Yeah, the new design team seems to be focusing more on like the event side of things, which is nice. But these were kind of like Edge of the Earth was a very powerful set. And this was kind of an example of it in the form of Brandicathuga. I think Divination is good in decks, but I think like Brandicathuga and even Blur are actually like really strong cards here.
I do think they're better than Divination in context,
Yes.
but I think that's also because the options for getting more clues are so powerful
100%.
that it just makes Divination look worse.
Yes, 100%. And I mean, also like Divination can still be really good with Norman Withers doing his things. Like it has like a really high
This is good
ceiling.
in general.
Yeah. But these were the kind of the shift from like the downsides. Like the downsides are still here, but they're so hard to trigger. They've eaten up that risk of spell assets where, you know, you only spend the charges if you actually succeed, which turns out, if you're boring like me, is the best part of these cards because I just see this card and I see 9 damage and nothing else on the card.
Yep.
So yeah, this is kind of like what these things were. I think that they're actually my favorite when you use them in the non-mystic side, right? As like the side armor Brandicathuga, or like the rogue Blur to just get like a bunch of actions. I think that stuff's really cool.
Or the secret Divination get a bunch of clues, right?
Yes, yeah, just get, they don't have ways to do that. This is very helpful for
It
them.
is good,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
We also got a really good healing spell in the form of Earthly Serenity.
We love this one.
It is just like really good healing. I remember when I
Just like a little bit cracked.
I had like such a wow moment when I was watching Bryn play this card, and he succeeded by 5, but he only chose to heal 4, so the next heal was actually worth it. And I was like, wow, that's smart. And it's like one of those cool things where it shows like the versatility of healing when you can do it in big bursts is really, really nice and appealing. We also had Healing Words, which was the damage version of Clarity of Mind, which I think is the card from earlier.
This is like the better one of the two because it's purple, and purple has already many, many ways to handle blue damage, but only like 2 or 3 ways to handle red damage.
Yeah. This card does look a little bit sad next to Earthly Serenity, but it's still like fine.
Yeah, it's still
You don't have
playable.
to do the test, so.
Yeah, you don't have to run the test. You can heal allies, I want to say. Can you
No,
heal allies?
still
no.
not,
This
yeah.
is so bad.
Yeah, I wish it did say allies for sure. Such a good way to actually just like level up a healing spell. So notably, Edge of the Earth is when like healing, we started to talk about like, you know, maybe healing isn't bad. That was a big shift that Edge of the Earth brought, and these were big reasons for
Yeah, I
it.
mean, I suppose like 4 charges is like
It's 8 health.
8 health
Yeah.
instead of 6.
So,
And if you're Akachi, it's 10 health.
Oh, it's just crunching the numbers. Just
That does track, right?
yeah.
So that's kind of cool, I guess.
Yeah. We got Astronomical Atlas as a really Norman Withers tool. Like other players, other Mystics did do it. And I remember that there was a conversation around this card of just card draw on Mystic, which it certainly did, but I think now it's kind of settled to be mostly like skill Norman Withers combo or like Marie Lambeau. I see it a lot too. True Magic was a really cool high-end card. Is it good?
no.
No, but it is a really cool high-end card to build towards
Very flashy.
for Mystics. Close the Circle was the synergy card here, which also turned out to be like a pretty fun card to build around. So I've heard, because every time I talk about this card, people yell at me, so I don't want people to yell at
It
me.
got nerfed, I think.
It did get nerfed. So that was a recent change where they changed what basic actions are. And I think they simplified it in a way that's good, where basic actions can't require another card, right? Unless it's like a location and you're investigating it, or like fighting an enemy. But like as soon as you do like an event, or
play a
like
card.
or like playing a card, it's no longer basic, which I think is ultimately probably just easier.
Makes sense to me. That's what
Yeah.
I would have assumed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it did get nerfed because of that, but I still think it's like fine in synergy decks that want to use it. Also really good in Carolyn, so it was nice for her to get something that wasn't just horror healing, that was new to her kit. And then Dragonpole brought on an interesting fantasy of, like, it works really well with, like, Lily Chen's character, but it also is, like, the spell slot started to get, like, it kind of, like, made an archetype out of it, which was nice for the Mystics, which have just generally been pretty... We've kind of been saying the same thing for 2 hours, right? So it's, like, nice to have something, like, new to talk about. Yeah. Keeping the cool stuff going, we got Enchanted Bow, which is, again, a flashy, fun kind of weapon. And actually, I do think it's better than, at least, like, I have given credit for in the channel in the past.
Card's actually pretty good, I think.
It's just, like, again, the Mystic thing is just, like, so solved, so to speak, but, like, is it actually solved? We have a video yesterday on the channel which was about exploring Mystics not using the stuff that you always use, and I think Enchanted Bow does a good job of showcasing that. Talisman Protection was great protection.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's just good.
Yeah. Protecting the Anurnic has a lot of synergy. The thing we were talking
It's got
about.
a lot of words too.
Saving David Renfield's and, like, Arcane Initiates, or turning them into more cards. Just nice things to have. And then Nikosi was
The Gym Trap.
the Gym Trap. The Gym Trap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So when he came out, there was a lot of people, myself included, who were like, this is going to make Gym work. No. However, I do think he settled into a good place in, like, Bless decks to be able to pull Bless tokens out. So
Curse.
he did end up finding, like, a home.
Wow, you could, like, choose one of the symbols, and then you can, like, make them into curses, so you can use your skull thingy to turn them into a skull.
Travis, stop. You have to stop right now. Travis, you have to stop right now. For your own future sanity, you need to stop right now.
Wow.
Just think of what you could do with that.
Just think how
Nothing.
good that could be.
And you know what's so funny with that? It's the same as turning into a skull, but, like, one extra step. I need one extra card.
Yeah.
And Travis, what's this slide all about?
It's our mistake slide.
Yeah. So Down the Rabbit Hole is like Arcane Research.
Yeah,
But
it's like a better take on that.
yes, but somehow I think also
It's like also worse.
I think it's like more unhealthy in the long term too as things go. So one thing we talked about in a previous video was that is it, like, good if every card gets an upgrade, right, at some point, or a downgrade? And in a recent AMA, the designers revealed that they actually, as part of their budget, do upgraded or downgraded versions because they get they can order new art in place of, like, having an extra card, or, like, as they get through their Call of Cthulhu fund. So there's always going to be new cards that are upgrades or downgrades in sets. So Down the Rabbit Hole is going to continue to just get better and better and better because it's just like...
Till it gets rotated.
Yes, which is nice, which is also why rotation, as Travis and I were talking about before we recorded, is also, like, healthy for these games, right? Because it means that they're just banned. Yeah, they're just gone.
No, just ban it.
I mean, I would not be
do it
opposed to it getting, like, just forbidden, because I think it is that dangerous, but...
Yeah, it's not just, like, really strong, it also homogenizes your deck building in a not fun way, where it pressures you to just build a level 0 deck and just play effectively the same deck for the entire campaign.
Yeah. And I know you have a lot of, like, you could just be like, that's the fault of the deck builder, and it is, but also, like, when the card pool is wanting it. Speaking of the card pool wanting it, thank God we got Cyclopean Hammer, huh?
Yeah, it'd be really rough if Mystics couldn't fight with their brains.
Yes.
Imagine if Shriveling didn't have used charges.
Yeah, and also just dealt 3 damage.
Well, level 5 Shriveling does.
I've never played that card.
Oh. Well, it does that. But also it doesn't punish you for drawing bad tokens.
Oh.
And
Does Shriveling hit people away?
No.
Do they just stay with me?
Yes, but usually to, like, the discard pile.
Yeah, sometimes they'll hit you away
Yeah.
to the discard pile.
So why would I want my spell to have a downside, Travis?
I don't know. You could also, like, this also uses your hand slots, so you could use your arcane slots to get clues.
Wow. So you mean if there's not an enemy, I could just, like, use my Rite of Seeking?
Yeah.
Wow. Or no, more accurately, my Sixth Sense with Olive McBride?
Yeah.
Cyclopean Hammer was stupid card. Yeah, and
Bad.
I'm happy that at least
designers.
we've all said I swing the hammer at least once.
Yeah.
Even if it was very begrudgingly on Bryn's behalf.
Yeah, no, you really took one for the
Those
team.
dogs were so much better.
They were not.
Bryn, are you going to be building 6 sled dog with memories of another life?
I'm gonna play sled dog, but I'm also gonna play underworld support.
Oh, no, Bryn, no. And then
No, you aren't.
on the power level of Cyclopean Hammer, we also got Meditative Trance. Just kidding.
It's like
I don't get why this one's here.
Yeah. Well, it's here because, like you said when we were talking about it on Monday, for the Edge of the Earth
I
weaknesses,
remember
having
that.
more of things.
I wasn't here on Monday.
It's true, yeah. My YouTube time snuck in. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this card really wants to cost like no money.
Yep.
And then we're like,
Or like be fast.
Yep.
Which wouldn't make sense
Or
for
be
being in a
fast.
trance.
Yeah.
yeah, just like hold on, let me meditate for a sec. Okay, good.
All
Done.
right, I'm ready.
Let's go.
It'd be neat if it was like a double action or something like that, and then you got to heal like
Like double that.
all of your damage or some shit.
Certainly, yeah. Better than what it was.
But yeah.
On to the Edge of the Earth campaign. This one, like Forgotten Age, you're going out on like some sort of expedition, which means it's going to target foot more than brain. It still targets brain, but this one is heavier on the foot side. Additionally, this one, the maps are huge, so movement is also penalized. But Mystics get hurt quite a bit by the Tekalilis, because in Seeker and Rogue and even Survivor, you kind of just like draw your way through them, right? In Mystic, those draws that it eats up can be very bad in the long term. So that's a little bit of a pinch point for them.
Can't even fix it with the scroll really, because if you draw 3 Tekalilis, you still have to discard a card from
Yep.
your hand.
Yeah. So I think that was a notable thing for Edge of the Earth, as well as the movement tax that just came with the giant maps.
Yeah, it did mean that Open Gate was like sometimes really good.
Yes, yeah, for sure. All right, on to the Scarlet Keys, and because this one's pretty recent, we're probably just going to kind of zoom through these ones.
Yep.
We have Amina Zidane here, who...
Fourth
Doom's
worst
back.
investigator.
Pardon?
Fourth worst investigator.
Yeah, she's the Doom is back. So there was a lot of interesting conversations about Amina when she was coming out, which is just that her ability is actually very powerful, right?
Oh,
The only kind of thing that makes it tough is that she doesn't really have the benefit of having like Sin Eater priced in, right? Because like, well, it kind of is, right? Like they're just assuming you're going to build Sin Eater, right?
Yeah.
But then like you have to get to Sin Eater. And then when you have Sin Eater, is it good enough? The answer is no in the long run, but like, I mean, we are Amina believers on this channel. We are like all more positive on Amina
They
than
will
most other
eventually
people.
print enough cards that let you not care about your stats. That she'll be good.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, 4th worst Mystic Investigator, as voted by PBG.
Yeah.
We also had Carson Sinclair, who can go into the Mystic cards.
Which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but okay.
But it is a little bit. Well, because I guess does it make more sense than Rogue?
Not really.
Yeah, that's the hard part for him, right? With that.
I mean, I think Rogue would make more sense for him because
Yeah.
he would like.
what I
He's
mean.
like, boss man asked
Sorry.
me to do this thing, and he's like, I can't do that.
Yeah,
It's
just-
criminal to do it.
Yes. Okay. No, that's fair. That's fair. I think also where he would work well with favors like Preston Fairmont does, right? But alas, he is a mystic. It's because he has lit a few ritual candles in his time, even though why would he ever hold them? But like he's able to use like promise of power support kind of stuff, which is kind of neat. And then also like he plays like down the rabbit hole pretty well.
It makes sense from a mechanical standpoint, where he plays a lot of the sort of weird mystic events
Yep.
and skills that are kind of supporty or good in niche scenarios.
Yeah. Yeah.
Plays Mind Wipe well. He plays Stargazing.
Carson Sinclair ultimately is, though, like the perfect support, and he mostly falls on his Guardian class, and you're kind of just using his other things just to like round that out. So, but he does have Mystic, so he's in Mystic Week's history.
He's here.
We have the Doom charms in this one, and I think for the most part, these haven't really done anything to make a big wave. I think Dowsing Rod is the one I see the most played from other people. we've tried things like Onyx Pentacle. There was that cool Dexter deck that with like the 25 automatic, but they ultimately said
the other thing that I was doing was way cooler.
Yeah, but they ultimately said no on that, which is it's nice to hear them say no, right? But these things, they're not like in Ceremonial Sickle is pretty not great.
It is, yeah, like for a four-costed option to do damage.
Yeah,
it does not do that.
Yes, yeah,
really.
I think that these cards should not have been priced out of Marie. I think if they were 3 experience, they would have had a much better.
They are
showing
3 experience. They're just not level 3.
It's true. It's unfortunately true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is a good example of the ripple effect that Travis was talking about earlier with arcane research for those kind of things. Yeah. Here's that Sin Eater card. So these are some Doom support stuff. Sin Eater is a very good Doom support card, which we saw on Friday on the channel.
Actually,
it's kind of good.
It's like carrying the entire archetype.
Yeah. El Rubash also, I think, is a very good Doom card too, to help support it. And then having like a fast Moonlight Ritual is also pretty okay, especially when it only costs 1.
Yeah, 0.
Yeah.
It's a spell. Nice
even
try.
better.
Yeah, get your experience back.
Yeah.
Free.
Let's go. Like, it's going to upgrade guts then. Yeah. We have just some good cards.
Yeah,
String of Curses,
solid.
which we were like, this card's going to be sick, and it turned out to be sick.
Wow.
Hallowed Chalice, we actually were like, this card's not going to be good. And then somehow, like, were Travis as Amina was like, healed 3 on me 1 turn, 3 on Bryn in the other. And we were like, wait a minute. This is actually okay.
Yeah.
Turns out it's very easy to get the Doom off that card without anything else. Explosive Ward is just some fine damage. And Uncage the Soul, I think is the level 3 version. I think is a very important card to talk about in the grand context of the Mystic class, where with Scarlet Keys, we're starting to see a change for how charges are valued in the Mystic class. The only other cards that we've seen that have done at this point that have charges, we actually haven't talked about in this video because they were like, we have like that one mid-level recharge, which is fine, but it wasn't like reliable because like there was a chance it could just whiff and that would be awful. But now, and I have a few examples here coming up in these next 2 cycles that are going to showcase that charges are going to start falling out of the air like donuts in that one Treehouse of Horror
Actually, I think
episode.
maybe that's why we ended up with getting maybe cards like Recharge, or why we ended up not seeing the downsides on the spells so much, because people complained about them, didn't play them, and the designers saw that and thought like, these people don't like inconsistency in their cards, so they took it off of things like the spell assets you use. But it's that you don't like your card not do. I think the variance is fine when the card does what you want it to do, and then there's maybe a downside.
Yeah, like what if I would even like be okay with like that upgraded recharge, where it was like 3 charges, but if you saw a symbol, it returns to your hand, like the asset returns to your hand.
Yeah.
So like you have to play it, so like you're essentially recharging it, but it's just like at a slower rate.
Yeah.
Right. I think like, and I guess like we could see that philosophy kind of here, but I think that's a very probable thing that happened. Okay, this is arcane slot support, but not how you think. Where it's like this cares about empty stuff in the form of Eldritch Initiation. Binder's Jar, I think, is a really cool card and is pretty fine for an accessory slot. And at this point now with Mystic, we started to not just always have a brain boost in our accessory slot.
Yep.
Being able to lock up enemies and then turn those into like dodges was really cool. And then Astral Mirror is a really nice archetype that just lets you like also play things like for free, which is really nice for the Mystic class. Cool cards here. And then we have the customizable cards. Power Word.
So much text.
Yeah, that's a
I
lot.
don't even know what Power Word does anymore, because it's definitely not Power Word Kill. We're different Power Word, like Power Word Stun, like one of the ones that nobody takes.
Yes, it's Power Word Kiss.
That
People would take that.
Yeah,
Jesse. Come on.
that is like equally powerful.
I haven't been played D&D forever. I've heard that it's gotten a lot more randy.
just like a little bit, but also you can use that to incapacitate an opposing caster because they need to either speak or move their hand.
Oh, that's The Lich Lord is like, I will defeat you. It's like, come here. And he's like, stop it. I must speak to cast my spell. Anyways. So yeah, these are the customizable cards. I think that unfortunate for when these cards came out, they chose the wrong ones for the preview article because they chose Power Word and Summon Servitor, which are like the wordiest of the cards that came to all of these.
They just kind of showcase everything that's wrong with.
Yes, if they did instead like Pocket Multi-Tool, which has a lot less words, people might have been more receptive to it. However, with all that said, I do think that Summon Servitor is a very successful customizable design because there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with it. I've never been a fan of Power Word, and I've played Living Egg too because it's just stats, but I think overall the Mystic ones are...
They're like pretty mid-feeling.
Yes, yeah. All right, the Scarlet Keys campaigns. No, Travis, I know you're a big Scarlet Keys head, but don't worry, I got this one.
Thanks.
So I think the big thing for Scarlet Keys and Mystics was that Concealed was very hard on the Mystic class because you had to fight, evade, or investigate. Now, if you paid attention to this whole video, you might know that they're using charges for those things, which can be pretty hard when you have to do it multiple times in the scenario. So it kind of like puts Mystic into a box for this campaign, which I think is a little bit unfortunate. Beyond that, there's not too much for this one that it challenges. It's pretty spread, where it's like there's brain tests, there's foot tests, there's enemies that steal cards from your deck, which doesn't really hurt the Mystics that much because like they are usually pretty good at finding what they need and then having it. So overall, I think the Concealed thing was the big thing that hurt the Mystics here. All right, we got some parallel investigators in the form of Jim Culver.
So
Who knows what this guy does?
so many words.
There's not too much to really say about these guys, especially like we have
Fucking cloud.
Parallel Jim and Parallel Father Mateo. They're still very new, and yeah, I don't really have much to
Quick,
talk
Justin,
about
what
them.
does this guy do?
Okay, so each turn, so he has a deck of 10 allies.
Yeah.
Each turn, you put an ally into play. If you have 4 allies in play, the Cataclysm happens, and
Okay.
some allies might get discarded.
What do you mean, might?
Because you draw tokens for each ally.
Okay,
And the
what-
token that you get to determine what happens.
Okay.
I think the good one is a curse token. He cares about curse and skulls.
Okay. Curse and Skulls, that makes sense.
Yes.
I thought he cared about allies.
Well, no. His front guy cares about curse and skulls.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
which is like whenever you reveal a curse and skull, you get add a charge to an asset you control, I believe. And then his allies can't soak, but he's very powerful. That's basically the thing.
All of his allies can't soak? Or
No,
just
the allies
ones
from
in
the
in
spirits.
bucket?
The spirits.
Oh, they're spirits.
Yeah.
And they have a cataclysm that happens. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you get guys into there?
You build a deck like the Hunch deck at the start of the game.
So he can like play allies from the classes or something?
Yes, I think up to level 2 for all classes.
Okay.
And you can only have 10 of them in his deck.
Oh, and then can you like use them?
Yes, you can
Things?
use them. Yeah. And but if they take damage, they go on you instead. So
I
like
thought
with
they
Beat Cop.
can soak.
No, so they can't soak, but like if you use Beat Cop, the damage on it goes on you.
Oh, can you put on a different like real ally you have?
Yeah, no, it has to go on you. I think it's
Okay,
direct. I think
okay.
so. Yeah. No, I think like he is very wordy, but I actually think he is very like well balanced for his wordiness. But he is a very wordy guy. And then Parallel Father Mateo is the reason why I think Ancient Covenant is bad. It's like it should be banned. It's very powerful. He can just like... one thing I actually think is really cool about Parallel Father Mateo is that he locks Bless tokens on investigators. And that made me think, like, what if, for example, there was just like a rule that was like, if your investigator has a Bless token on them, they are blessed. And then like card effects could like spend that... Like if you're blessed... discard the Bless token on you to do an effect. I think that's like a really cool thing that they could explore that is something I enjoy about the parallels. Travis and I were talking about this before. Yeah, exactly, right? Like with a curse token. But like it's kind of like there's no monetary thing for this, so they can do things that might not work and then like use it as like a lab for testing out ideas for the future.
Yeah, you lock the Bless token on them and then like make it hard to do, but then like you can discard it before revealing a token to treat it as if you drew an Elder Sign, but if you get cursed, then the next test you just have to like draw the auto fail.
Yeah. Even just having like a binary mode, which is like kind of like the day, night, and Hemlock Vale, where it's just like it can change depending on on card effects, right?
He's an investigator that can make one investigator blessed, but you have to make another one cursed.
That would be pretty cool. Yeah. All right. Speaking of blessed and cursed, we got the Feast of Hemlock Vale with Kohaku Narukami, the Paradox Investigator. He can add cool. Bless or curse tokens in. I think he's a very successful design.
Yeah.
Also, I think he's a very successful character design, too. Feels very mystic, very Arkham-y. I think it's a very, very nice thing. Yeah, the only thing that I have to say that's unfortunate about Kohaku Narukami is I do think that Parallel Father Mateo has already started to eat his lunch, which is a little bit unfortunate, but Kohaku still has like that Paradox side that makes him still Kohaku. On to the cards, we got the upgraded versions of our 3 old favorites from Dream Eaters back in the day. Ethereal Form made the cut too. Let's go!
It deserves to be here.
I mean, if it wasn't here, we'd be like, "Where's Ethereal Form?"
Yeah,
you know.
The slide would be empty. You'd have them positioned like that, but the third one would be empty.
Yeah, it would be too sad.
It would.
These now return if you reveal a symbol token. So some things that are really cool with the design here is that the taboos that changed all those other things like Ritual Candles, Voice of Ra, Jewel of Areolas to symbol is now carrying through as just the design, which I think makes the cards better because you can trigger them easier.
Yeah. Does also add a little bit to like, hey, you can play Purple Blessed.
Yeah.
Before it kind of just didn't do anything.
And what I also hope is it means, fingers crossed, that eventually we can even have this for negative effects where they just say if a symbol is revealed. I think that would be cool.
That would be.
Speaking of symbol tokens, let's have Olive McBride. You want to pull out tokens? She does a really good job at that. I think she's been very impactful to the game. And then we have Broken Diadem was the paradoxical payoff card. And
One of them.
Yeah, one of them, sorry. Yes. No, there actually is there's much better payoff cards than Broken Diadem.
Yeah.
This is mostly like, I've seen people theory craft it in Father Mateo.
It's a mask.
But it is a mask too. But yeah, I have not actually seen it flip over to its other side yet. From reading? Should I wait?
No, it's good.
I can't read it.
Yeah, I can't read.
So yeah, he's colorblind and can't read.
Just look at the art. The shadowy art.
These are the good payoffs for Paradoxical. Key of Solomon is a banger card and has proven to be very impactful after a year of play. And Seal of the Elders turned out to be much less memeier than we thought it was when we first saw the card. It also, I think, is a return to form of that really bombastic, cool, mystic effect that exists at 5 experience. So I think it's a very nice addition to the card pool.
Yes.
We have Cat Mask, Call the Beyond, and Occult Reliquary. These things don't really have anything in common.
Just solid cards that are here.
Yeah. I included Call the Beyond because this is just another example of how charges are becoming more and more free.
Yep.
And this one now, not only do you get to refill it, but you also get to activate it. Which I think, well, yes, the cost is like much lower than recharge. It still is 3 curse tokens. It still costs 2 experience. I think this is like a pretty good place for like these kind of effects to be.
That's fair.
So I think that's a nice shift for those kind of effects.
Yeah.
This is the mistake, or is this just a cool card?
Like
the column A, column B,
yeah. It's like a cool card when it's played as designed.
Yes, when they're not
also,
doing the
there's
token.
just like a lot of cards to show.
Yes, yeah.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah. I do think that the rod is really sweet when you are not trying to do the token stuff with it and just like using it as enemy management. I think it's flavorful, fun, and I think it's actually a really good implementation, at least in the level 0 version of Chaos Magic. And I actually wish that there wasn't an upgraded because I think the level 0 version is a really nice form of like Chaos Magic.
Yeah, again, the pick is a lot of extra decision making.
Yeah, so the level 0 is random if you reveal, if it's just 1, and the level 1 is for each you get to choose for each curse token. So, but they are very fun and very powerful cards. The only reason I'm talking fast is because Mystic Week ends in like 2 minutes and I gotta go through this. Feast of Hemlock Vale. I think this was a really nice campaign for challenging mystics.
Yeah.
But it also gave them advantage in the form of the Miasmatic Shadow, who is once again spell, relic, and science. I also do like the addition of science, even though mystics don't do that. Downpour is here to represent that I think that there is challenging cards that are starting to hit Mystic that are strong and don't use brain, but there still is a lot of brain stuff. Hemlock Vale was also challenged by a lot of enemies only being able to take 1 damage at a time, which is very tough for Mystics to get through.
Very good for Wither, though.
Very good. Wither's eating pretty for this one. We also have Drowned City. But in the previous weeks, this has been and beyond, but at this point now, Drowned City has been fully spoiled. What we can see from Mystic is continued support of token manipulation in the forms of Katarina and also Eyes of the Dreamer. And we also see Enraptured, which is here to incredibly boost, as we said, it's going to be just like good in everything. Eldritch Brand is a big boost to Mystic consistency. And we also have things like Seal was revisited, and also some cool cards that are changing what charges are used for, in terms of just like not just essentially being for spells and like casting them, but also like to keep people not taking damage, which I think is a really nice space to explore.
Torrent of power.
Yes, that kind of effect, which is really cool to see. I think of all the classes, I think the current design team have I think a good area of focus. I mean, I guess Guardian I think is doing the best, but I think Mystic is getting really good exploration under the new design team. And that's it.
Oh no.
What? I hate it.
You ever notice how Jacqueline Fine has a really long neck? Yeah, one day I thought that,
Really?
so then I just put this together because this is what I see whenever I see Jacqueline Fine.
Okay.
And I just put her in videos sometimes. Yeah, so she's saying bye to Mystic Week. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Is she trying to look ahead to the next theme?
Yeah, she's like, what's next? She's like, is it Mystic Week again? I'm like, no, Jacqueline. Unfortunately, it's Survivor Week. Yeah.
She's going ahead. Looks like she's looking over a fence, but instead of getting her tippy toes,
Yeah, it's
she's
just
That's how Transfigure works.
Yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed Mystic Week. I actually, even though Mystic is my least favorite class, I think this is actually the theme week I had the most fun doing.
That's fair.
Because I really got to challenge my perception of what Mystic was, and also like Eric and I did a video where Eric was like, how do you play the Mystic class better? And I had to analyze what the weaknesses were, and I made a lot of discoveries. So even I'm still learning from theme weeks. Just kidding. I already know everything,
Yeah,
Travis.
no, you're just sad to make him feel better.
Yeah. But thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you in 2 months for Survivor Week. And I also can announce now that after class weeks are done, we're going to be doing campaign-focused weeks. So that's going to be the next thing we're going to be doing, starting with everybody's favorite campaign, the Dunwich Legacy. So thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good one. And as always, a GG's.